Take a look behind the curtain with a real whistleblower and American patriot. Prepare to embrace the uncomfortable truth because this program has no time for comforting lies. Here is civil liberties enthusiast, Second Amendment defender, and recovering FBI agent Kyle Seraphin.
Well, hello, my friends. Welcome to the Kyle Seraphin Show. It is Monday. It is July the 27th. I appreciate you guys being along for this one. We're going to have a lot of fun. I'm talking to my friend Bobby Sauce, and we're going to be talking about the Tyler Robinson assassination situation. I don't even know what else you call it. There's this divide of people who I generally agree with, and some people think that if you think Tyler Robinson was the assassin, then you're on the sauce, and some people think that people are just consuming the secret sauce, and that it actually obviously was this guy, and the government narrative is straight on. And I kind of don't care either way because I'm not really personally invested in this, but I do think that one side is probably right based on what I know, and I don't know enough. So I'm going to talk to a guy who's a regular guy who also says things that are funny. So ladies, this is going to be a special show for you. Two exceptionally handsome men discussing common sense and sometimes a little bit of comedy, I imagine, because we're pretty irreverent dudes about this. We're going to get into that in just 1 second, and I have no idea where we're going to end up on it, but we're going to look up things as we go, and we're going to ask the questions that need to be asked, and we're going to assert some things if they need to be asserted. So there you have it. Let's talk real quickly about my friends over at Silent. If you guys have not looked into it, it's slnt.com/KYLE. Hands down my favorite backpack. Yeah, I'm a gear nerd. They make some fantastic Faraday equipment. Maybe you don't realize this. Some of you are just realizing that Alexa is a spyware device in your home that you bought and you pay for. Your phone is the same thing. So is your tablet. So is your laptop as you move around. If you have anything coming out of any of your devices in the wireless range, and that's things like Bluetooth and near field communication and Wi-Fi and GPS and all the cellular connections, like all of that stuff coming out can be used to track you. It can also be used to hack you. And if you guys don't want that going on, or maybe you just want some peace and quiet in your life, check out the folks over at Silent. This weekend, I rolled out to a river, which was an interesting move because it was super hot and there was no sand. It was just a rocky beach. But I rolled out there with one of the Silent Faraday crossbody slings, which allowed me to carry a pistol and put my phone away and tuck it away so that nobody could see where I was at and bother me, and have my smartwatch go off and make me do work stuff while I'm trying to watch my kids swim around in some dirty river. I'm just saying, if you need a little bit of family time, but you still want to keep the comms with you just in case something bad happens, check out the folks over at Silence, slnt.com/KYLE. You'll save 15% on qualified orders. You'll get free shipping on the same ones that are good. You can go as light as something like a little sleeve like this that I use on my desk for peace and quiet, or you can get as wild as the E3 Everyday Faraday Backpack, which is my favorite travel piece of equipment. I said a lot of things really fast. Check out the folks at Silent. There's a link in today's show description. We're going to get into our discussion with Mr. Bobby Sauce starting right now. Okay, I'm gonna bring him on right here. There's no theme music. There's just the man chilling. You said you feel like you're in like you're in heaven because you got so much light going on.
There's a lot of light behind me. If I close my blinds and turn the like headlights or whatever these are, spotlights or whatever on, I'm more yellow like you, which is warmer.
Yeah,
it's like you and Cash App, but but here it's just bright today.
When do you think you're going to be able to get the feds to build you a custom Cash App style Kyle Seraphin Show podcast studio?
I did submit an order through the procurement website to get the wood panels, $35 a panel. So hopefully I will be ensconced in fake wood soon.
So somebody brought this up to me the other day, and they said, because we're talking about the federal government and kind of what it is, the odds are they paid a lot more than $35 for each wood panel.
For sure. Without a doubt. Yeah. It was passed through some person that fit some type of, that like was in a marginalized class, and they upsold it by 5,000% per panel, perhaps.
They like veteran-owned companies, women-owned companies, and minority-owned companies. And if you could be a woman-owned minority veteran company, then you can charge anything you want, I think, to the federal government. I think that's how it works.
Yeah, and if you're trans or if you have a trans kid.
Wait, did that stop? Has that stopped since we're in the golden era, or is that still ongoing?
Pretty sure it's moving, chugging right along. The golden era, I mean, if you use context clues for the rest of the golden age, then I would imagine it's cooking right along.
It's not It's not a particularly encouraging moment, but all right, Bobby, I want to have you an opportunity to kind of introduce yourself to the audience. You've been on here before, and I booked you as a standalone guest, and then my friend Steve Baker said I have to come in and talk really important things. So you ended up kind of as this, you were my sanity sounding board against a topic that I think was interesting to both of us, but maybe not your expertise. So let's get it. Let's get you squared away with the audience and who you are. Lest people think you don't have credentials in the conservative space. You've been a special guest at Turning Point events in 2024.
Yeah, so when I first started making content in 2020, I didn't know that much about politics, but I quickly realized that Turning Point was a way to take the online experience and meet people in real life. And I went to CPAC, and it was a lot of like weird old people. So I wanted to go where there was like a little bit younger people, a little more of the normal, natural public. So I went onto the Turning Point website that I found through my travels online, and I just requested to be an ambassador. And the minimum was 10,000 followers, and I think I had 25 or 30,000 at the time. So I just submitted and say, hey, could I be an ambassador or special guest or whatever else? And then once they approved all my profiles, they just invited me to every event. And if any
Wait, is that how it works? You just go, hey, I could be one of your people, and then they're like, oh, okay, yeah, now you are.
Yeah, well, at the very beginning, basically what it said was, it was like, in order to be a Turning Point ambassador, what you need to do is you need to basically, you need to share Turning Point social media posts or videos like 2 times a year, or like 1 time a month. It was like something very small and very insignificant. It was like repost 1 Turning Point video or post on your platform of choice per month. They didn't tell you what one to post, what to say about it. They just said, like, you basically have to follow these following credentials, like don't have an OnlyFans, basically, like be a good representative of conservative values, generally speaking. So if your content is like F these types of people, they didn't bring you in. And they basically said, if you share these things, then we'll invite you to the events, and they would give you like a VIP pass to the event for free. So it's like, come to this event. It's in West Palm. Here's a pass. Pick it up at the door, and that's that. And that was what made you an ambassador. And then as you kind of built your relationship with them, they would include you in different things. They're like, hey, Turning Point is doing an event at this place that's nearby. If you want to go check it out. And then eventually, for the big events like the one in Phoenix, they would just cover your hotel and your flight. So they cover your flight, they cover your hotel. All the influencers or whatever are in the same hotel, and they just fly you out and give you a free ticket. So, but they didn't tell me what to post, how to post, what to say. It was very cool how they didn't do that. And like to this day, like I respect and love all the people that I met through the Turning Point ecosystem, but I wasn't part of some thing. It was like, nobody was like, hey, you have to greatest out. Like they didn't say anything.
Here's the secret contract that you have to sign in your blood.
Yeah, they didn't do that, and they just and when you think about like any business, it's like I'm an entrepreneur. I started in the web development business many years ago, and it's like when you're doing things online, you're very disconnected from the people. So sometimes just being in the same place that other people are that have similar ideals or a similar business or similar values, it's beneficial to your business because you kind of hear things, you talk about things, you share secrets, etc., of how to succeed. So I just wanted to be around people, and that just was the biggest, and I think probably is the biggest organization of relatively young people that believe in these things. And the other is Young Americans for Liberty, which I'm speaking at their event this coming week in Ohio.
I met some of those folks when I was in the Freedom Fest in Las Vegas, and I hate events in general, and the libertarian events are always kind of interesting. Where do you fit on the political spectrum? Do you define yourself by any particular party or ideology?
I think that many of us would consider ourselves to be politically homeless at this point. But I would say, generally speaking, I would consider myself to be more libertarian than anything. Mm-hmm. I don't believe that libertarian ideals, full stop, would actually successly work.
Isn't that the problem? Because you meet all these libertarian people and you're with them right up to the point where they're like, and so if you back my candidacy, and it's like, what planet are you living on, homie? That's not going to happen. You're not going to be able to get anywhere.
Yeah, it's like, I think that the libertarian viewpoint, generally speaking, is accurate for the most part. But I think that how it plays out in a world that has leftists, basically, or let's just say that has Democrats. It's like, in the event that you want to satiate a Democratic voter, you can't just be like, you must own land to vote. It's like, yeah, I get that logically, and I think that there's a lot to be said about that. But I think that some of the policy positions are like untenable. It's like maybe we could get there eventually, but we can't just come in and say, like we don't talk to any other country at all or whatever. So I would consider myself to be a right-leaning, somewhat conservative, mostly libertarian, but I don't really categorize myself in one party or the other because I don't really think that one fully encapsulates my ideas, which honestly, I almost don't really think that anybody is really like that, where it's like, I'm a conservative Republican, period. And what even is a Republican anyways?
It's just a 90s Democrat at this point.
Yes. Basically, yeah.
My friend Amy Nelson refers to her situation. You said politically homeless. She says post-partisan.
Yeah.
I kind of like the idea that the whatever the boxes that have been kind of cast for us to be able to climb into, like they don't really suit us very well, and they don't suit people today. And I think some of that has to do with independent media opening up the idea that you're not just you're not just a MS News or MS Now, or whatever the hell they're calling themselves, versus a Fox News person. And if you choose one of those things, then like that's who you are. That seems like maybe the fringe 20%, 10% on each side of the aisle, and 80% of us are sitting here going, I think you guys all suck. And I kind of agree with these people, but there's a lot of sequins at the Turning Point events when I went. There's a lot of sequins and short skirts, which is not very conservative to me. You were kind of talking just before we got started about your like some of the people that show up there and you see them and you're just like, not quite what we're selling here. It seems like there's a certain set of values. I think Turning Point in general right now is experiencing that. They've said a few things about what they're about, and then you turn around and you're like, are you about that though?
Yeah, well, I think that's kind of the difficult thing about putting, like, boxing yourself into one thing. Is it's like everyone that agrees with this set of beliefs is this. Like, for example, I met a really nice gal at one of the original Turning Point events that I went to, and she was a free thinking, free market, capitalist, American, like overall great person that everybody loved. Yet this particular girl had an OnlyFans, and she got kicked out of the Turning Point Ambassador program specifically because she has an OnlyFans. And if you look at her page or look at her actual OnlyFans, it's bikini photos. It's the type of thing that anybody would sell on, or that anybody would post on Instagram for free. So it's like, okay, is this not conservative? She has photos of herself in a bikini that she charges money for. Where is the line of conservative, not conservative? Do I think that this girl and I disagree on the vast majority of things? Is she bad now? Does she not deserve to be, under the big tent or whatever it is? So it's like if I categorize myself as conservative, I don't particularly think that that's bad. I know girls that don't have an OnlyFans, that don't make any money, that post the exact same photos on their Instagram for free. Right. So it's like this girl's bad because she makes money doing this. So I think that there's a lot of gray area as it relates to Turning Point. I think that politics in general, it attracts people that are in a lot of ways narcissistic, in a lot of ways evil and or evil adjacent. And I think that we encounter, and I think that I encountered people there that would be like, God first, Christian, husband, proud dad, family man. And then you see them like hitting on drunk college girls at the bar at the Turning Point conservative event. And you're like, what is even that? So everyone's lying. That's the thing. Everyone is lying about everything.
I think that's why we get along, because your answer to that has basically been just lampoon everybody. And you did a pretty good one that was, I saw kind of went semi-viral, and you used like a weird blown out face filter. What was that, with a mustache?
Yeah, it was a goatee.
Who is that character that you were yelling at? Other than that's my uncle. I'm pretty sure that's my uncle.
I was looking for a character that looked like your typical MAGA X account. So just to put it into perspective, handle is like MAGA voice dude 6969. Profile photo is like sunglasses, in car, baseball cap,
100%, and it says ultra MAGA. Trump 3X.
Yeah, and he's like Trump is in charge. It's a super secret military operation, Operation 4547. Like, there's a secret plan. The reason that you got the vaccines was because to expose Fauci. It's like none of these things occurred. Like, you live in a fantasy world. And then they just yell at you and they're like, you're stupid. You don't understand the plan. And it's like, brother, I don't think you understand the basics of normal life, let alone the fucking plan. They're like, telling me I'm stupid. It's like,
yeah, just because you own your own house that you bought in the 70s doesn't make you some sort of like financial genius and you understand the secrets. This goes to my broader theory. So Bobby, this is my broad theory. One of the dangers in America is that we have so many opportunities that people can become hyper successful in one particular venue. And then they think that that actually applies to all things. So like Steve Jobs, very, very good at designing a product that people wanted to go out there. Initially, nobody wanted Apple, and it slowly took more and more bites out of it. And they were, vertically integrated, and they made all their own stuff. And people were like, oh, this is incredible. And it was designed first, and it was functionality, and it was appealing, and the packaging was right. And people were like, he's basically a genius. And they're like, what does he think about other things? And it's like, who gives a shit what he thinks about other things? Because he doesn't probably have any better ideas than anyone else. He just was really hyper specifically atomized focus on one good thing. So we get these people that have like succeeded at like running a trucking company, or maybe they made a bunch of hotels, and they're like, maybe they should run our country.
Yes.
Like, maybe not.
Well, yeah, I mean, that is, it's kind of like, it's like what I have realized, not even just in politics, but just in general, is that is definitely true, where somebody could be super great at one thing, but if they try to do another business or another, or try to walk into a different avenue about something that they maybe don't study enough, but they're smart enough to do it, it's like, you can't be really, really great at a boatload of different things. And it's always good when those types of people just admit, like, I don't know about this thing, or like, I vaguely know about this thing. I like this thing. I wish that I'll put other people forward that understand or know about this. That's
a great attitude. That's called humility, I think. And if we had some humility with some people, then maybe we would be able to fix the FBI that I cry about a lot, because I'm really frustrated that we put people in that actually didn't know how to do the job. So this is going to take us to a time coming up on about a year ago. We had our FBI director, I'll put our as the Patriots who trust the plan guys.
Our hero.
We had Kash Patel in there, who, by the way, made a video of himself as a cartoon hero last night. Did you see that?
I sure did. Slop. Love it.
Loving the slop. Okay,
Perfect
so we
slop.
had that. We had Daniel Bongino, who lasted for 292 days, and this was towards the tail end of his problems. He had already fatally wounded himself with some strange statements about Jeffrey Epstein, which he was no longer worried about. And we had Charlie Kirk out there, and then on September the 10th, he was shot. Or so saith the story. Do you think that he was actually shot on that day?
I don't know.
Okay.
I would say that I think it's important to understand before we get in, the shortest way to explain this. Okay. Number one, we have to have a baseline understanding, which is, number one, is that I do not purport to know what happened to Charlie Kirk. Okay. I do not have any other insider information one way or the other. So let's make that clear. Secondly, we have to both agree before talking about anything that both of us, and or the vast majority of us, we want justice for Charlie Kirk. We think that it is important that he died. That has to be the baseline narrative of any conversation. It's like, do we agree collectively on this? This guy was an important guy, political person that we like, even if we didn't like him. If he was a political character of another persuasion that we disliked, if a guy gets assassinated in cold blood in broad daylight, and he's friends with the president of the United States and the people that are in the highest halls of power, including leadership of other countries, and leads a youth organization that is the most crucial voting bloc for the future of America, we agree that whoever assassinated this person, we need to find justice for this person, and it's important to extremely closely monitor this case to seek the truth, because there would be a lot of people who would be interested in the official story being not the official story, whether it is or it isn't.
Hold on, what does that mean? The official story being not the official story?
They're interested in having the official story be something that maybe is not true. Like there's an incentive that exists for this type of person that gets assassinated. There's an incentive for that story to be manipulated, because a person of great consequence is assassinated. So presuming that the story is perfectly as they say, which is I would almost go as far as saying probable.
Okay.
Let's just acknowledge that in the event that a person like this was assassinated, the potential for somebody to want to change that story's official narrative is high. It's not like a trend jacking, like a narrative jacking, where they're like, okay, this thing happened, and I'm going to frame it in a way that's advantageous to whatever my perspective is. Is that the argument you're making? What I'm trying to say is that let's remove Charlie Kirk.
Yep. Give me a left-wing example if you can.
If the CEO of a large company is assassinated, and there's a multitude of people that see to benefit as a result of that guy getting assassinated. We should look very closely at that case because there is an incentive there for for there to be nefarious action, whether there is or there isn't. It's almost like if a guy dies 1 month after getting married and he has a $50 million bank account and his wife is the only person on his will. Maybe the guy next door killed him. But let's just acknowledge that there's an incentive here for there to be something. It's not that it is. It's just that it's a high-profile case that deserves scrutiny, is what I'm trying to say.
I'll make an analogy of the United Healthcare CEO, the guy named Brian Thompson. There was a celebration of the person who was supposedly the assassin. Yep. He's on trial. I don't think they've come to an answer on that yet. I'm looking back. That was in December of 24, so that's a 1 year or almost a year earlier. So somebody is assassinated. There's obviously some ramifications for what it means to the rest of the country, and getting to the answer is in the public's interest. Is that succinctly enough?
Yeah. But what I'm just saying is, like, in the event that a high profile person is murdered, that has beneficiaries, like a CEO of a major company, there should be extra scrutiny on that case, no matter what it is, because of its importance. Because it is of high consequence. So what I'm saying is that, like, the Charlie Kirk case, whether it's open or shut or not, if the FBI comes out or some detective comes out and says, here's what it is, I don't care if it's Charlie Kirk or if it's some prominent leftist, we should scrutinize that and try to figure it out.
Is that not what the justice? I mean, I'm not a big fan of what the justice system does in a lot of things. The civil system is a complete disaster, and we've seen issues in most states, I would say, in the justice system. We just watched a woman get convicted of saying the N-word, which is incredibly wild. So there's obviously there's failings in there. But is that not at least ostensibly the purpose of our justice system, is to try to suss out, like, hey, this is what's required to convict. This is what reasonable doubt looks like. This is what beyond a shadow of a doubt looks like, and this is the standard you must actually find for, and all that. I mean, that's what the trial system is about, is it not?
Yes, and I believe that the American justice system is the greatest in the world, as imperfect as it is.
Imperfect as it is the big caveat. But okay, I'm with you.
But this is the thing, and I don't mean to, like, I'm trying to figure out how to say this without being, like, accusatory. But it's like you the last time we talked, you talked about how that guy is being framed for that pipe bombing in DC.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, and a lot of people have drawn a lot of analogies here. So this is why I'm having this conversation. So I'm deep and wide in some categories. I am not deep and wide in this one. And to be fair, I don't see a lot of similarities between them, other than they both involve a justice system. One of them is a federal case. One of them is a local case in Utah. So those are not the same thing. They both have some FBI involvement, but so do almost all murder cases. They go to the feds for identifying guns, for doing federal laboratories, because the fed labs are faster, and sometimes they are more accurate because they've got a lot more practice. They've got a lot more money because they take all of our money, which we can be frustrated with as libertarian type people who say, don't take our money. But that seems like one of the decent things they do, is they have pretty good labs. But outside of that, one of them was found in 33 hours is the claim?
Yes.
33 hours to find Tyler Robinson, versus somebody else came up with a plausible candidate. And then suddenly you have the federal government's like, no, not this federal employee who works for the CIA. We got a different person who's totally unrelated to the entire thing that everyone has said for the last 5 years about what this person is. So I don't actually see them as being all that similar, other than, yes, the justice system makes mistakes. And obviously the government can also operate in its own interest when necessary.
That my example was not to compare them as in any way similar. The purpose of mentioning it was to say that a bureaucratic system can lie about things.
Admit. I'm in the middle of a civil litigation right now where when they make claims in the complaint, you have to either admit or deny or say you don't have enough information to make an assessment. So I admit, yes, bureaucratic systems fail. Things that are run by our government are run by human beings who have interests that can sometimes not align with justice. Totally on board.
So in the event that they would lie about that, a person going to jail that is of considerably less consequence, let's just agree that guy is of considerably less consequence. Nobody's, like, the vast majority of people don't even know about it. Charlie Kirk's killer is of a considerably greater consequence. So in the event that they can lie about one thing on one case, I would believe that could be extrapolated and or much grander in the event of a person of high consequence. That's the only comparison. They can lie. They will lie. Why would they lie? They could lie here, is the point.
Okay. I think conceptually I can get on board. I think the two of them, I don't think the two of them are that related, but I understand. Yeah. The evidence of a system failing can point to evidence that it's possible. So I don't disagree. Lay out what are the undisputed. So I don't, this is the biggest thing. I do not follow the Baron Coleman, who I understand is an attorney and now does a podcast.
Yep.
Candace Owens, who I have not liked Candace Owens for a really long time, but I'm not the audience for Candace Owens. I'm a straight white father in his 40s, and listening to like a woman who just showed up to Catholicism talk, her voice actually bothers me. And I also didn't like her before. So I'm not a huge fan of Candace Owens, but I understand that there's a lot of people that do like her, and there's a lot going on there. I just listened to, by the way, Bobby, the funniest thing. I used to listen to Ben Shapiro a lot. When I was riding in a car, I would sit and listen to him. I like how fast he talks, and I know that he's articulate and he says intelligent things. Oftentimes, he lost me right about the time when he started advocating and calling people dummies over a COVID shot. I was like, whoa, what?
Yes,
what are you talking about? Your wife's a doctor, and therefore what? Like, that's your appeal to authorities that you married? Like, the vagina that you married is it's like knowledgeable about this? What the shit are we talking about?
My wife knows about it.
My wife knows about it, and therefore, like, here's the thing. I was with my wife when she was going through grad school, and so I know a lot about the psychology that she went through as a counselor. But I always ask her when she's the authority in that space compared to that. If I ask her about a mental health concept, I'm like, am I remembering this correctly? Because I wasn't in that class. I was just hearing you talk about it with your friends kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. I was on board with the Ben Shapiro thing. I just saw one of the funniest things where Ben Shapiro ran out of words and he sounded like an absolute buffoon refuting Candace Owens, who I also don't think is that bright when she says some of the things she says. And I listened to her and I just go, okay, that's really dumb. And then his response to it was incredibly dumb. So now I'm listening to people who I used to listen to, at least they used to be at least articulate in my mind, and they kind of get very emotional about this topic. So as we sit there, as a guy who doesn't follow it, what are the things that people accept in the let's call it conspiracy versus government narrative people? Is that a fair, like, how do we characterize the two sides? We got to give it a name so we can say this side says this, because there are sides.
I would just say the official story versus.
Okay, official story is the prosecution story. Yes.
Yeah, let's say the official story versus questioning the official story, because it is not my contention that I know what happened to Charlie Kirk, and interestingly enough, much like in a court of law, the purpose of this exercise is not to figure out who killed Charlie Kirk or how Charlie Kirk was killed. The purpose of the present day exercise is to figure out, is Tyler Robinson guilty beyond a reasonable doubt?
But you're not going to be, okay, but do we agree that you're not going to be able to do that outside of a courtroom?
Yeah, but that's like saying, do we agree that we can't prove what happened on 9/11? Do we agree that we can't prove what happened with the mysterious arm potion that happened? Yeah, there's a lot of things that are.
What's the arm potion?
I just don't like to say the word on. I'm just protecting you.
Is that the shots?
Yeah. I used to call it the juice.
Mysterious arm potion. I was like, wait, there's a mystery arm potion out there?
Oh, there very much is, yes.
Yeah, there's things I don't know about. And that, by the way, is still an ongoing question. What's amazing about that is that a friend of mine, Jim Erdman, just sat down and did another interview about COVID origins, which is actually kind of crazy. Okay, so official story equals prosecutor's story as it's being portrayed.
Yes.
And the other side, there are degrees of the question people. Would that be fair? Yeah. I think you're in the sensible category of them, because you and I are talking about it. I think Clint Russell, same thing. He's like, look, I'm saying I have questions, and I'm down with that.
Yes.
I also think that there are people out there that think that they have come up with an answer, and their answer is probably pretty wild.
Well, some people state things definitively, and it's important to understand that in the event that you talk about a highly contested topic, that you are not you're not the sum of all its parts. Mm-hmm. If somebody like, to just use an example that comes off the top of my head, if somebody like Stu Peters states definitively, this is how Charlie Kirk died.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I disagree with that, generally speaking. I disagree with having that position if you can't prove it outright anyhow. The fact that he says it doesn't mean that, like, somebody that questions the official Charlie Kirk assassination narrative is not the sum of Candace or Barron or Ian Carroll or any of these people combined. They're just a person that has not been convinced entirely of guilt. The fact that all these people are talking about it, I think, is a net positive. But of course, you're going to have people that are on the fringe side of a perspective that say things that are crazy. Like, there's people that said it was a palm gun. There's people that said it came from behind, from below. There's any multitude of different stories. And to be critical of the official narrative does not mean that you are in agreement with all those things. It's like, just because you're in the, like, it's like everyone in the official narrative camp. Yeah, that's the easiest narrative to have. That's the easiest position to have.
Mm-hmm.
The official story is true. Okay, great. That doesn't take a lot of questioning. You just say, this is what the FBI presented. That's the authority. It's kind of like during 2020 when it was like
the FBI didn't present it. Just to be clear, the FBI didn't.
Sorry, the prosecution.
Okay.
During 2020, the easiest thing to say was 5,000 scientists and doctors agree that you should go and get the mysterious potion to prevent yourself from just getting the mysterious air virus. It's like, look, the CDC says it. And everybody like us was like, well, that's bullshit. I'm not a fucking doctor, but I have a brain. Like, you're never going to convince me that I need to stand 6 feet away from somebody and walk a single direction down a grocery store aisle to not get a mysterious virus that 99% of people or whatever survive from. You're not going to convince me. Just because the experts say something doesn't mean that it is definitively true. So my position is that the easiest position to hold is the official narrative is accurate. Okay, great. No thought process there. Now,
lay out. Do me a favor. Lay out as you are aware of it, the official narrative. What's the story? What is that person believe that follows the official narrative and has no questions?
The official narrative is that Tyler Robinson has a trans, which I have seen no evidence that he's trans, furry, whatever. Okay. That Tyler Robinson is a blue collar worker in Utah who has a blue collar homosexual boyfriend of whatever. And they've lived together for a couple years because they've met each other playing video games. One day, after never talking to his boyfriend about Charlie Kirk ever, never once speaking his name ever once, not really a political person, maybe mentioning Donald Trump occasionally in passing after listening to it in the radio on the way to work, that has a high ACT score, that is a relatively intelligent individual, that has this apartment with his boyfriend, wakes up on the day that Charlie Kirk is announced or is speaking in Utah, drives 3.5 hours north with a old-timey gun that was given to him by his grandfather, supposedly broken in half and in his backpack. He mysteriously climbs up onto the rooftop of a guy that is protected by a multi-million-dollar security team. He walks directly to the most perfect vantage point imaginable that happened to not get covered by the $1 million security team or any drones that were up in the air that they lied about being up in the air. He walks across the roof in broad daylight wearing supposedly all black, which makes perfect sense. And he assembles the gun, maybe, with a screwdriver. He lays down in the prone position for 30 seconds, takes one single perfect shot after reassembling this gun, hits him directly in the neck, runs directly across the roof, Spider-Man's down the side of a 20-something foot building without leaving any handprints or fingerprints on the wall, sprints into the woods across the street and stashes the gun in a towel that he brought from his house that has all of his DNA on it, hid it in a bush, then ran across the street, down the road or whatever, through some neighborhood with a bunch of Ring cameras, got in his car, hid around the area for a small amount of time, went to Dairy Queen, got an ice cream cone, stayed in the area for hours, came back to get the gun, realized that there was a bunch of police standing around it, text messaged a complete confession to his boyfriend after he was trying to say that no evidence would ever be found, while also telling him to look for a mysterious handwritten note that admits his guilt that was underneath his computer keyboard. The boyfriend then takes a picture of the note. Then he drives multiple hours back to Utah. And then the next day he just sweeps and does chores and stuff. And then supposedly his parents see a picture of the gun that wasn't a real picture of the gun on TV, recognized the super grainy, crusty, low quality photos that even his boyfriend couldn't identify as definitively him, recognized it, said it looked like Tyler, called him. He said he was going to kill himself. They brought in a family friend. He supposedly admitted to them, and then they all went down to the police department to supposedly admit his guilt and or turn himself in without admitting his guilt, without signing a written statement acknowledging that he was guilty, and then Discord chats supposedly admitting his guilt, where he just talked about it openly on Discord, supposedly happened after he was in custody. And that's the official story.
There's some commentary in there, if we're being fair.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, that's generally what it is.
Okay, I have this called Discord server questions as a clip that I grabbed, and I want to break over to it. Actually, while we're thinking about it, just remind people, if you guys are watching on Rumble, give us a like over on YouTube, follow my guest. It's it's x.com/take naps. You'll see his name. There's a link in today's show description, and you may hear an ad on the audio platforms if you're listening on Apple or iHeartRadio right now. If you're listening on Spotify, there was probably a video to go along with that thing. Okay, I've got this video, Bobby, and it's called Discord server questions. And I'm just trying to find some of the contemporaneous news coverage that I found. Looks like a Fox News clip. And it's being played, I think, on the Charlie Kirk show. So that's even weirder. Let's see what they got.
Kash Patel said earlier today that he expressed to someone that he had an opportunity to take out the killer and was going to do it. Did that person do anything with that information?
Yeah, that's what we're really disturbed about. It appears that this was communicated. You see this a lot, Bill, when in targeted violence cases, assassination, school shootings, where the individual expresses in advance in a good swath of these cases his desire or her desire to do these specific things. That appears to be the case here as well, where the intent component was there in advance, and the target was announced in advance prior. Now, that's the part we want to know. Did they know and not say? Now, Bill, you have to keep in mind, and I don't want anyone to jump to conclusions on this. Did they say it, hear it, and think it was some kind of a joke? That's what we're trying to find out now. But I promise you, if there's a larger network here, we're going to get that out to the public as soon as we can. We really are.
Okay, so that actually never happened. They never got back to the public on that one.
Go figure.
So very objectively speaking, if you have any tie emotionally, financially, relationship-wise with any case, it is standard law enforcement practice that you would recuse yourself and you wouldn't find yourself speaking in any way, shape, or form about it. That's a standard thing across law enforcement. We saw Daniel Bongino, and we also saw Kash Patel do the same thing. They both got up there and started talking immediately, saying he was my friend, and then also we're going to do these things, which always seemed really weird to me. So for just on a level of professionalism, I can objectively say that is a no-go zone. And anybody in law enforcement that's listening right now, anybody with a law enforcement background will also know you don't get to be involved in a case that you're related to. If there's an appearance of impropriety, you have to recuse yourself. So even the fact that he's out there speaking about it, very strange. I don't disagree with probably a lot of the, what are we calling them? The questioning side? The questioners, yeah. Let's just,
we can't, for the purpose of, for categorizing them, sure, the questioners, sure.
The questioners have questions about the bizarre behavior of Erica Kirk. I think it's really weird. I'm not an Erica Kirk fan before or after, so I'm neither here nor there on that. I want to go into the big questions that you have, some of which were alluded to in your commentary, which you kind of like flavor, like, look, Bobby is a sarcastic dude in the same way that I am. So he's never going to give you like I don't think you're going to be like, oh, I'm just going to tell you just the facts from a timeline, because that's not fun or interesting to either of us.
Right.
So I heard them. I want to know what your big questions are.
Thanks.
Let's start because that's just, otherwise we'd be bored. Yeah. What are the, and maybe I'll get something different from Clint Russell, who I think has a very different delivery than the two of us. What are the big questions starting from minute one? Where do you go? That doesn't sound true. This needs to be answered. And then also, I'm curious after all that, what's going to satisfy you for answers? Because correct me if I'm wrong, you're kind of in the category of the people who are telling us the things are likely liars, or they've been known to lie. So how do you get to the over the burden of like, oh, well, that makes more sense?
Well, yes. I mean, I am not convinced of Tyler Robinson's innocence, just as I am not convinced of Tyler Robinson's guilt. My position is not that I know. My position is that I am not convinced of his guilt. And
Okay.
in the present discussion, what is not important is even like Erica Kirk's actions are just supplemental ancillary information, not is Tyler Robinson guilty.
That's
and that
not, but you're on the rational side of this, I think. Would that be fair? Because we've observed the alternative, which is like her behavior equals guilt. I've seen a lot of people say stuff like that.
Yes, and that's why I said it's like a person that doesn't believe Tyler Robinson is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt at the present moment is not the sum of all critics together. Yeah. Someone saying Erica Kirk is
that's why you and I are talking, because I think you're the sane version of this. I think the wild version of it is like, well, she's obviously in on it. It's like, in on what? It's like, whatever I believe.
Well, and
what's your evidence? I just feel I could just look at her and say that's not normal. So she's done this now. She's done all these awful things, which some serious people have said.
Exactly, which is like it's almost like it's like the official 9/11 narrative. It's like, why did Building 7 collapse into itself from a supposed office fire? That's never happened in American history or human history ever. And why did it happen there? And then there's a person that's like, there was no plane at all. It was a hologram. It's like, all right, well, that's like,
that makes for good Instagram stuff though.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. It's like, okay, well, I'm not hologram person, but like I could also believe that there's a lot of other stories around it. So it's like it's important for a person that dissents from the official story to not be categorized by the sum of all of the extreme versions of that opposite. Where it's like I don't think it's like, for example, if let's use another one, it's like if I don't think that we landed human beings on the moon, it's like the Earth is flat and we're in a dome. It's like, okay, well, I could just not believe this thing. So as far as the Erica Kirk stuff is concerned, that is not part of my how I came to this conclusion, which my conclusion is the lack of a conclusion. Again, because in a court of law in the United States of America, you have to prove guilt. You don't have to prove innocence. You have to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. My position, which I think so many people's position is, I am not convinced of his guilt as it sits now. It doesn't mean that I can't be convinced of his guilt. It doesn't mean that I even think that all the information is out. Like, I'll be the first to acknowledge all we got was the preliminary probable cause hearing. We didn't get the actual trial. So in the event that you were to be a fair and reasonable person, assessing the necessity of paying attention, to an assassination of high significance, what the thing that would be the best for you to do would be to analyze the existing information that is out there and trying to perhaps find holes in that information. It's not that you know it all. It's just, why is there so much sketchy stuff about what's already there? I'll be the first person to admit that there may be some ace in the hole that they have that we don't know about. And I'm certainly here to see that. But as it sits right now, there's a lot of questions about the stuff that has been presented. Now, what would convince me as far as his guilt? Well, I would consider myself, much like I would assume anybody else, to consider, if I was a jury in the courtroom and I gave this my full attention, much like you have to do if you're sitting in the courtroom, when would I be convinced? I can't tell that definitively. All I can say is that if I was a jury in the courtroom, that's how I look at my position on the outside of the courtroom. I paid attention to this very popular case out of Boston, Massachusetts, for a woman by the name of Karen Reed that was exonerated and found not guilty in the murder of her Boston cop boyfriend. I didn't have a dog in the fight about Karen Reed. I didn't know who she was. I just watched the case with a discerning eye and said, I don't care whether she's innocent or guilty. I just want to watch and care, which is how I feel about the Charlie Kirk case. I just want justice for the guy that was murdered. It's not that I want Tyler Robinson to walk innocent. It's just that if Tyler Robinson didn't do it, then I want to find out who did. Because if you could just murder a person of great consequence like Charlie Kirk in cold blood out in the open, then you can murder anybody. So that is of great concern to me. And I would think that I would hope that a lot of people would care very much about that case. And if there was any darkness in there, and in the event that this case didn't have so many things to shoot holes in, would we even have all this content to talk? Would Baron Coleman be able to do a 3-hour, podcast every single night if there was nothing there? That would be very boring.
But this bothers me because there's not 3 hours worth of things being discovered on a daily basis.
No,
that's a fact. There's not 3 hours worth of information that is being shared from people who have access to information to the people who are commenting on the information. So if you look at the way that a homicide investigation works, and if you look at the way a death investigation works, initially going to be a series of evidentiary grabs. You're going to get a body. You're going to get, maybe you're going to print a room. You're going to find some blood spatter analysis, or you're going to find some sort of DNA, and you're going to send these off for labs. You're going to get toxicology. If there's if somebody dies without an obvious wound, you're going to get a weapon and whatever sort of DNA you can get off that. There's a process for processing a scene. And then, so the initial grab is, anywhere from tens to thousands of items. And in this case, we're told there were thousands of items grabbed. They got cell phones, they got cups, and they got all kinds of crazy stuff that were left over by hundreds, if not thousands of people that were listening to Charlie Kirk speak. And then there's digital evidence. And then there's, all the security cameras that were not in the control of the event staff. Then there's the event staff cameras. There's the people who were individually there with their own cell phones, blah, blah, blah. Some people surrendered them. Some people had them seized. There was a lot of information that was grabbed.
Yeah.
A lot of that stuff has not been set out. In fact, I think I have this weird, this is a discussion. I think this is the judge ruling on whether or not, like, how long it was going to take. No, that's not it. I've got a couple of these little clips here that are kind of interesting. Oh, okay. I think this is it. This is the defense basically saying that there's so much information to process that we need months. We need 6 months. And they have the information. And the people that are out there, the Baron Colemans, the Candace Owens, they don't have this stuff. This has not been revealed to anybody. This is coming in discovery. So just for 1 second, I want to play this. And then I want to have you tell me what the holes are. Because as it stands right now, default position, if you're doing 3 hours on evidence that you don't have, you didn't gather, you don't have access to, if you're doing 3 hours of content on it every day, that to me starts looking like you are making an industry out of somebody's death. And I'm happy to be convinced otherwise. Okay.
I'll let you finish it.
Yeah. Let's listen to what the defense is saying the evidence is on their end that has not been actually dealt with. And this is before they did. This is why they waited until 2 weeks ago to do the preliminary hearing. This is why it took so long, if anybody doesn't know.
We do not want the victim representative and her family to have to wait any longer than we have to wait. But it isn't sufficient for the state to say, we've turned over gigabytes and gigabytes and the defense, doesn't really need to review it before the prelim. That's not, obviously, and the court, I think, tends to agree with what I just said, that doesn't make a lot of sense. So we do respect the concerns of the victim representative and her family, but we can't constitutionally shortcut Mr. Robinson's right to the adequate assistance of counsel. And I think, as we said in our brief, when the state doesn't give us the data that their law enforcement partners have and have had for 6 months, we can't be constitutionally effective.
So that's why it took so long for them to do it. They had too much information to process that they have and is not public.
Well, he said that they didn't give it to us.
Yeah, that was the original part of it. And as they handed it over, they needed more and more time to process it.
That's fair.
And this is a total prosecution. I think it's a dirty trick the government does. What they'll do is they'll grab every single thing that's possibly responsive in discovery, and they'll dump all this shit on you and then say, you deal with it, dummy. They did this to J6ers, and they buried valuable information in there. And then sometimes they didn't give them the information they needed. This happened in Brian Cole Jr.'s case. So they have to go back and say, hey, I think you're missing something here. And then they go, oh, yeah, in the voluminous garbage we turned over to you, we accidentally didn't give you the one thing that you really needed that would have been helpful to you. The government plays to win, which is not what the government is about. And so I will broadly say this. I don't agree with a lot of the things that Bill Shipley has to say of late, but Bill Shipley was a J6 attorney and he's a former federal prosecutor. He said the government's job, and this is, by the way, at the state level and the local level, it's also true at the federal level. The government should be only interested in fair process.
Yep.
But it's not. So I will agree with you that what the government tends to be is they want to win. They want to be able to win long enough to get a good record to go make a bunch of money as a defense attorney somewhere else. So they want they want to win, like, I went undefeated as a prosecutor. And the government generally does win over 90%. That happens across the board because they have all the resources and all the money, and we are stacked up against a system that's not fair. So for whatever it's worth, I'm not a fan of the way the government does business in this space. And that being said, I also see people in the questioning space making a living out of asking questions that I'm not sure it relate to the case at all that they can substantiate, or that like some of them are coming to kind of implied conclusions, and I see them only like secondhand where people believe them. And there's even people in our chat right now that are very upset that I don't agree with all the things that their friends say. It's like, well, first of all, Baron Coleman's not your friend. Candace Owens is not your friend. You don't know these people. And I don't know what they have to say. I just get it secondhand from people who I look at and go, why do you believe this so fervently? That's why I'm having you talk, and not somebody who's just like, I know the secret. It was a palm gun that triggered the event of an exploding microphone, blah, 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 blah. And Rob O'Neill even said so. And you go, okay. Again, we started off with saying some people really should stay in the lane of things they know about. What I know is I don't know about what happened in this. I'm fine with questions. I want to know what the big questions are. What are the big questions that make you go, they could be lying to us? And maybe in order as you remember them, or whatever order you want to kind of organize them in.
I'll just say that without watching their content, I think it's almost, I don't know the right word to not sound defensive, but it's like not irresponsible, but it's like, how can you really know unless you pay attention to see what they say, right?
Yeah,
like,
no, I haven't. So I agree with you. I agree with you that I have not given them that time, and I'm not interested in it. That's why I'm not talking. Like, maybe I'll reach out to Baron Coleman. He can make a succinct argument. Here's what I believe happened. Okay. If the entirety of your content or what your commentary is here's all the questions, and I'm doing it 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, that's wild to me that you could spend all day long on something you don't have the information on. Yeah, but if there's an argument that is being made, like where you're like, hey, if you're like, Kyle, here's the things that we have seen unanswered, and here's what we're trying to piece together. I want to know what those things are. So
okay,
that's what I want.
And I'm happy to do that. But
yeah, that's what I want.
To be fair, like in the event that you are assembling information in what I would consider to be the modern open investigation, which is essentially what this is. I think what they are doing, both Candace and Ian Carroll and Baron Coleman and a lot of people that are investigating this case, it's like in the event that there was to be an investigation, like there was 10 detectives in a room talking about a case, they would try to connect the dots of what it was. They would go down pathways and interview people that they thought might be guilty that may end up not. In the event that it's an open investigation, and that's what we're witnessing, which is what I believe that it is. Of course, we have a limited amount of information, but they're going to go down pathways. Go ahead.
Yeah, one question. Do you think that people like Ian and Baron and Candace, and we'll even call it my buddy Ryan Maddock, because I think he's in there too. I think like there's a lot of people. Do you think that they are quote unquote diligent denizen is another one, right?
Yeah.
Are they investigating? Are you using the word investigating, that they have an open investigation? Would you use that word?
Yes. Well, what's the definition of investigation? An investigation is assembling a collection of evidence and or non-evidence to try to lead yourself to a logical conclusion.
So I'm having a hard time with the evidence part of it, because I don't think they have access to evidence.
Well, okay. Well, then
this is the biggest problem I have with all of it. That's like me going and investigating 9/11 right now. It's like, well, it happened 25 years ago.
Yeah.
The witnesses are 25 years old. Mm-hmm. At this point, like, so their memory is not good. The forensics are gone. I don't have access to any of those. So what I'm doing is sort of like looking at video footage and then guessing what I think it means. That's what it looks like to me. As someone who's done investigations, when we get evidence, it's like, this is the rope. I have the rope. This is how he was hung. This is the extension cord. This is the chair. These are the shoes he was wearing. This is the urine in the pants. This is like, hey, I'm serious. This is the grieving family member that I have personally talked to 20 minutes after they found his body.
Yes.
And so having done that, those things are witness interviews in real time, which are famously bad, by the way. Witness interviews are awful. I've had witnesses tell me things that objectively didn't happen when I looked at the security camera footage. I'm like, there was no one else there. It was just you. You think there was someone chasing you, but you were drunk and you were driving into a pine tree. Like, I can see it. There's no one behind you. There's no other, lights, that kind of thing. So people are bad. But when you take the combined information of these are witness interviews, these are people who contemporaneously heard something and they echolocate, and 50 people say the same thing. And you're like, okay, well, that sounds like there was a sound that was up and over that way. And these people on the other side said it was up and over that way. And so you get those people together and you go, okay, so it sounds like the general consensus across 100 people questioned was there was a sound up and above them to that direction, that sort of thing. The problem is that there is no evidence being evaluated by podcasters. As someone who's a podcaster now, I'm not evaluating it. So to be able to investigate it, you've got to be on ground and then have access to the actual information, which would be considered evidence. You need physical things. You need the cameras, do you not? You'd need the blood. You'd need the original medical examiner's report. You'd need somebody there who saw the thing that you're trying to get information about. And what I see instead, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know that this is true. It just seems like I haven't ever seen anyone go, here's this wild video. This is the video recording of the autopsy. I've never seen that presented. Or even the medical examiner's report, which comes up in a very, kind of formulaic manner where you can read through it. It's cause of death, and this is the abnormalities, and these are the wounds that they observed, entry, exit, retained fragments, weight of bullet, all that stuff. Has that report been made public and I just didn't see it? And these people are doing... Okay.
No, it hasn't. But okay. I don't disagree with you about the evidence, about what constitutes evidence.
Okay.
But let's walk down the logic of that. In the event that that is the case, then you have no choice but to accept what is presented, right?
I don't think I have to accept anything. I think that we're going to have a trial at some point.
Okay,
I'm a total skeptic, right?
Well,
and my skeptic is nobody from one side or the other side has convinced me. That's why I'm not emotional about this. It doesn't matter to me one way or another, in so much as I don't have anything invested. When information is available, I'll go, that's interesting. When somebody puts out, for example, a grainy surveillance video, I go, oh, that's a plausible, that is a shitty camera angle, and it's a very far away. That doesn't seem like it's going to be able to, it's going to tell us maybe a route of exfiltration. So maybe that's a place you'd go and check in. You said there's no handprints, there's no fingerprints on the walls where he did the Spider-Man routine.
Right.
I can't believe he didn't have knee trauma from dropping off that side of the wall. So maybe he does and maybe he doesn't. Maybe there was a medical exam afterwards and they're like, oh, he actually has super springy legs and he's like Mr. Gumby. Right. I would imagine that there'd be damage to ankles and stuff like that from that drop. So are there huge footprints where a weighted individual put it into the grass? I didn't see those pictures, but they might exist. Unfortunately, we don't have access to that. That's what I'm getting at. It's like, it's plausible that that's security camera footage.
Okay. What I'm saying is that in the event that the only person that's qualified, or whatever, I don't know what the right word is, qualified to analyze the guilt or non-guilt of a highly consequential case, in the event that the only people that are able to do that are people with that information,
I think it's supposed to be the jurors. That's
fine. Whatever. The prosecution, the jurors.
Yeah.
In the event that we aren't there yet, then like essentially what you're saying, forgive me if I'm wrong, but it's like, don't look at it till it's time.
I think that doing 3 hours a day talking about information that you don't have access to, and so you can neither confirm nor deny, and if your whole thing is like, here's where I think some questions should be answered, not knowing if those have already been answered, that seems masturbatorial to me.
Okay,
so,
but you did that about the pipe bomber.
Well, that's different, and I'll tell you why.
Why?
So I'll tell you why. Okay. First of all, we have a lot of information about prosecutions that took place referencing the pipe bomber to begin with for 5 straight years. There were a lot of people who went to jail on the idea. They were sentenced on information that was not material to their case, but it was like the broader scope of this thing. I mean, the Justice Department presented hundreds of cases about what they believed happened on January 6th. They made arguments of grand conspiracy. They made them in court. Jurors convicted people who I think should have been sent to prison were sent to prison for years, some of them for much longer sentences, and they were alleviated. So there was a big public unveiling of what was going on there. And then information started coming out. Security camera footage. This is a big chunk of it, right? It was either revealed in cases or it was allowed to be seen by journalists who went in and actually did the investigation. The difference between what I've seen from the Charlie Kirk questioning crowd and the people that were looking and saying, what's going on with this case that's open? It was a 5-year theoretically manhunt for the most terroristic thing that happened on January 6th. I mean, people hitting people with flagpoles, guy dropping pipe bombs. There's not even a comparison there as far as like what the public danger is. And they didn't have anybody. They were happy to find the flagpole guy, but they never found the person with the pipe bomb. That seemed crazy for a long time. So a 5-year manhunt versus a 33-hour manhunt, I don't think they're comparable. And then the second piece of it is that there was actually evidence available to the people who are in the public because they actually released it. So the evidentiary claims were released in congressional reports. They were released by the ATF, by the FBI. They were released in the form of video footage. Then the video footage was made available to certain people. So you have investigators. And this would be the equivalent of if all the camera systems for the 5 days or 6 months prior to UVU had been made available to online sleuth to go and pick through and say, oh, look, well, that's not Tyler Robinson. That's a similar lookalike. Or if they had that sort of stuff, it would be a different animal altogether. I think there was actual evidence available.
Maybe, but you're basing the length and the volume on you're basing the length and the volume of it as some type of validation why this is analyzable versus this is not. One
has evidence and one does not have evidence.
But what do you mean there's not? Obviously, there's evidence. Obviously, there's publicly available evidence about the Tyler Robinson case, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Minimal.
Okay, fine. But there is evidence.
And it was presented, and the judge said that there was probable cause to believe. So I think I'm fine with that.
Which is a low bar to set. I'm not an attorney.
Oh,
but
no, it's a super low bar, 100%. Like when I read the case that the Utah prosecutor's office was bringing, and you could read that a couple of days after they caught him. I mean, when they caught him, they released it within maybe 24, 48 hours. You go, got it. Okay. Right. What we have in the pipe bomber case is we have the infiltration route. We have theoretically cell phone pings.
That's not the point.
What we don't have available to the public is, and I haven't seen this yet, but they basically have said Tyler Robinson appeared 3 times on the campus.
But that's not the point. The point is not the volume of evidence that exists in one case comparable to this one, and that being the justification for explaining it. The premise is like in the event that there is an inconclusive amount of evidence out, even if there was one piece of evidence. If your position is do nothing because there's not anything there, it's like I don't see what is the harm.
What do you mean by do nothing?
Well, what we do as talkers, as yappers, we analyze publicly available information to give our best concluded take about that thing that may be counter to the official narrative because we think that our contribution may help somebody think a different way so that they can interpret the present day information and potentially the future information as a result. And then any of the associated actors that may be acting with malintent in and around that. That is the purpose of the yapper. That's what we're doing here. So yeah, I don't have the ballistics report in front of me, but what I do have and what all these other researchers have is they have the amount of information that's presently available, and we can scrutinize, criticize, and analyze that information that is evidence in the case of a publicly discussed open investigation as best as the general public can do. And yeah, I can't go there and look at his autopsy, but I can certainly look at the actions of the people around him, the actions of the investigation, the evidence that's produced at the preliminary trial. I can look at the collection of all those things and analyze what they have presented as evidence. If there's a video of Tyler Robinson on the roof and there's a photo of him in the garage and there's text messages that are presented as evidence in a court of law, that's evidence. I can analyze that.
Sure.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
How much time can you spend analyzing that, I guess is the question.
That's the funny part about it all, is that in the event that there was nothing there, it would be very boring and not a lot of people would be watching. And there wouldn't be hours and hours and hours and hours of analysis that would actually be valid and interesting. It's like, do people think that like we wake up in the morning and they're like, let's talk about this thing that's obviously real. Let's talk about Tyler Robinson, who's obviously guilty. Let's watch some guy, pontificate about some piece of evidence that we don't really think makes sense. If you were watching Candace or Barron or Ian Carroll or any of these people that are investigating it, and you're watching and you're like, I just don't believe that, you would tune out. So like the fact that they're analyzing it and it is compelling is the reason people are watching it, because it's very compelling, because they ask very legitimate, very real questions that make the open and shut case narrative seem very implausible. It doesn't mean that it won't be plausible. It doesn't mean that Tyler Robinson won't be found guilty. It doesn't mean that we won't all be proven. It just means that does this not make sense? So it creates more questions than answers. So to analyze and investigate what is presently available is what everybody is doing. And like,
what are the big questions though? That's what I'm trying to get to. Like, sure. I want to know, what are the things that are going to make me go, all right, I've gone from, I don't feel strongly that there's a big question to these are obviously the questions.
Okay. There's two different categories of information in my opinion. One of them is, why is that? That's one category. Like, why is
Okay.
that? I don't know what it means, but why is that? That seems weird. Let's just
Okay.
call it weird category.
Okay, weird
And
stuff.
And then the second would be inconclusive physical tangible evidence.
Okay.
So there's weird, inconclusive physical tangible.
Let's do the inconclusive first.
Okay.
That seems like it's okay. So I want to know what those look like.
Okay, well, first and
Because I agree
foremost,
with you, there's a bunch of weird stuff. But I think if anybody were to look into all of our
Right.
lives, we'd probably find a bunch of weird stuff. I'm guessing. I don't know if it'd be as many
That's
weird things because you and I are not like multimillionaires living in a public way with a bunch of famous friends. So maybe that makes you weirder. Probably does.
Yeah.
But let's go to
Sure.
inconclusive evidence that's been presented to whatever to the public.
As of now, the most crucial piece of physical tangible evidence that proves that Tyler Robinson was ever on the roof at UVU.
Mm-hmm.
The only physical tangible piece of evidence that places him on that roof was the screwdriver. The screwdriver that was supposedly used to assemble the gun that he used to fire. There's no other evidence up there. There's no footprints up there, there's no fingerprints up there or footprints up there that track him.
You're talking about forensic evidence.
Yes, supposedly there was a drop of sweat up there. It's hard to because there's so much stuff. But there's a drop of sweat up there that wasn't conclusively traced back to him. There was no fingerprints on the window or the palm prints on the window that he jumped off of. So there's no physical, tangible, hard evidence that places him on that roof other than the screwdriver.
Okay.
The screwdriver.
I'm taking your word on this because I actually don't know what's being argued. But so there's a screwdriver. I've heard about the screwdriver. I'm tracking you.
Okay, so the screwdriver is the only piece of physical evidence that traces him to the roof. Okay, the physical evidence, the screwdriver has more than his DNA on it. It also has his roommate's DNA on it. Okay, so now the screwdriver that was found on the roof, when the original detectives, police officers, whatever, went up onto the Losi Center rooftop on the day of the assassination, they went up to the rooftop and they never mentioned finding the screwdriver there. The guy that went up on the rooftop testified in court, the police officer testified in court that there was 2 people on the Losi Center rooftop and that's it, because he was asked, could there have been other people up there? Surveillance camera footage that was released proves there was more than 2 people on the roof. You can actually see 4 people on that Losi Center rooftop at that time. So
okay, hold on. So tell me what you're saying.
I'm just saying he testified that 2 people are on the roof. There's video evidence that shows there was more than 2 on the roof.
So the cop who did the initial search of the area,
yes,
claimed that there were 2 people. There were only 2 people, and you're saying there's video that shows that there were more than 2 people.
Yes, there's 4 people on the roof. That's one thing. Second thing.
What does that mean? Do we think other than cops miscount people all the time?
Well, there was 4 people on the roof. He said there was 2. Who are they? We don't know. Okay. In the video, in the body cam footage that this cop that supposedly discovered the one piece of hard evidence, there was a guy that was with him on his body camera that was a plainclothes person with a badge and a gun.
Okay.
10 months later, we don't know who that guy is.
Okay.
He testified in court that he doesn't know who that is.
Who said he doesn't know who that is?
The cop.
So the cop with the body cam says, I don't know who the other guy that was up there is.
Yeah, there was a plainclothes guy with a badge and a gun after an assassination of which we don't know who killed who. And there's a guy with a gun that has a badge that you could probably buy a badge on Amazon. And he's there and he goes up to the rooftop to the murder site.
What are the innocuous versions of what that means versus whatever the worst, implications are?
Okay. Let's just state it for a second. Let me continue on the screwdriver. Okay. Yep. So he goes up on the rooftop. He says there's some body imprints. There's a place where there was elbows. There, I can see a body impression of where this guy laid down.
Yep.
Does not mention the screwdriver. Mm-hmm. After going on this roof, his body cam, his police body cam that was recording everything that he did that day, I think ran out of batteries.
Right.
That was his official testimony, is that his body cam ran out of batteries. A body cam is charged, can hold a 10 to 14 hour charge based on my available research online. Other police officers have testified that these body cams give an alert in advance if they're about to run out of batteries. This guy was 2.5 hours into his shift. The body cam was working until he entered the most crucial area of the crime scene, which is where the one piece of hard evidence was discovered. Okay. So when he gets onto the rooftop to discover the supposed screwdriver, his body cam dies.
Okay.
So the video of the crucial piece of evidence at the murder scene, the body cam dies. Why did it die? Did he report that it died? Did he file a report that said it died? Did he go and recharge it? None of those things happened. Then the initial reports as delivered to the media was that the screwdriver was found near the firearm, which is across the street in the wooded area.
Right.
That was the initial report, is that's where the screwdriver was found, near the firearm.
That's what remember hearing too. Yep.
Right. And then later, 2 days later, they changed it to say that it was found on the rooftop. So the initial, whoever is delivering this information to the media, I believe it might have been Cash himself.
Yeah, I remember. So this is the problem, because you had some very bad spokespeople coming out, again, emotionally involved. There's two issues with Kash Patel and Daniel Bongino giving information. Number one, emotionally involved with the victim. Yeah. That's a big problem. That should be disqualifying. And then the second thing that's problematic is both of them were desperate for positive PR press at that time. Right. Yep. And so that's another thing that they were rushing out there. This is the I'll see you in Valhalla, brother bullshit, and all the other nonsense that went along. All of that was thirsty, desperate. I mean, look, I got a buddy who was interviewing the subject at the time where Kash Patel announced via tweet, "We have the subject in custody." Right? You remember that? He misannounced the arrest. Yeah. Okay, my friend was doing the interview of the person that they thought was the guy. And my friend was like, he's not even close. Like, well, I'm about to cut him loose. We're having this conversation. And Kash rushed to say, we must have him, to the point where people came in and said, well, boss is just texted that we have the guy in custody, so you better find something. And he said, essentially, F you. And we're cutting him loose. And they did. So there was a desperateness from the PR need to win that Kash Patel, he's not a credible source in this story to me, just because I know what he was doing. He was desperately trying to announce wins. Whether or not he had the information accurate or not was irrelevant. He was simply trying to catch Fox News time. So the story that I'm interested in is what is being argued by the prosecution. Have they substantially changed their case? Forget the media part of it. Has the actual documented, police who are doing the investigation and the prosecutors who are making the argument, have they said, we found the screwdriver in one place, just kidding, we actually found it somewhere else, here's a different filing, we were wrong? Has that happened in the court filings? I don't believe that. I don't know that. I don't know that answer for sure. But what I believe their official position is that it was found on the rooftop. And I'm going to do an AI just like scrub for this, because I'm curious about it, not to try to jam anybody up. I just want to know if that narrative is officially changed. And so just keep talking. And for the one thing that Barron did was Barron played the official police audio that was the guy on the roof reporting that he found the body imprint. It's like, dude, if you go on the roof after an assassination where a guy was supposedly laying and there's literally one thing there, a screwdriver, you would be like, I found a screwdriver. So it's like, okay, so it's the guy didn't mention it. There's no photo of it on the roof, as far as I understand. It had multiple people's DNA on it, his roommate, as well as Tyler's roommate, as well as himself. And there was no report of it being found on the roof on that day based on that initial report. And then again, like I said, they released to the press that it was found with the firearm, then they changed it. And then the one thing that would prove definitively that it was there, the body cam footage, mysteriously dies. So it's like, I don't have to be a detective on the scene to look at that and be like, that's suspicious. I'm not saying that I know what that means, but that is how it played out. Okay, so I'm just trying to get some amalgamation, because I do think that Kash Patel muddied the waters and made some terrible PR mistakes on this, looking for positive press. So just for clarity, my prompt was, have the Utah County prosecutors ever changed their story about the screwdriver where it was found, Tyler Robinson case? And I don't know the answer to this, so I'm reading it along with you. They didn't change their story, but it was released to the media that it was found with the firearm. So it's like, obviously somebody told them that. Well, again, if it's Kash Patel saying, yeah, we found a screwdriver and a towel and the gun somewhere, and he's out there talking out of his ass in the same way he said, we got the guy, but they didn't get the guy. And he was having dinner at Rao in New York City, hanging out with Andrew Giuliani, which is what was going on at that point. That's a terrible misstep for PR, but it doesn't have necessarily anything to do with what the case was being argued in the prosecutor. And again, I'm just trying to explain where things can be explained. They said that the screwdriver had been recovered from the rooftop sniper position. The way I understood this, tell me if this is the way you understood it as well, was that this guy is up on the Losi building. They found the proned out space where he was basically in direct sunlight, laying down, perfect view of where Charlie Kirk was, right? Yep. That's where the sniper position was.
Yep.
And then the story, as I've understood it, and I think there's definitely write up in the original complaint where they arrested him. And then there was also some testimony that said that he disappeared out of camera view for a little while where they believed he was assembling the rifle and then got into the sniper position, that he comes crawling into the location. Right. Yeah. So, it would make sense that if you were putting something together that you'd be seeking somewhere that you have a little bit of shade, a little bit of cover, or whatever, that you're out of the view. If the camera's blocked, so be it. Because we've got a pretty shitty camera view. It's not like it shows everything. But it does seem like I don't know, if I'm the guy that if I'm making terrible decisions already and I'm climbing up on a rooftop to shoot somebody and I'm assembling a rifle and I leave my screwdriver, it may not be exactly where I'm at in the sniper position. It may be where I put the gun together off camera, which is what was the claim. Again, it's not conclusive to me one way or another. How does that even
make sense?
Well, it makes perfect sense to me. I mean, have you ever...
Okay.
I shoot all the time, and so I'll do some work on a gun over here, and then I'll crawl up and do my shooting somewhere else, and I leave my tool where I did the work.
Right.
That's because I'm carrying the gun.
Right, but he didn't leave it where he did the work. They supposedly found it up near where he was.
Well, finding it on the rooftop and near the sniper position is not okay. So here's the preliminary hearing during the formal. Okay, I'll go back to the
because based on my understanding,
the prelim hearing says.
Based on my understanding, there was not enough. There's no video evidence of him assembling the rifle on the camera, as far as
Yeah, that's what they said, as far as I can tell. And I have a hard time trying to figure out how you put the stock and the barreled action. Look, I know plenty about all this stuff, and I don't know how you put that together, whether it was stashed up there in advance. I don't know. I have as many questions as anybody else that may or may not be resolved.
The contention is that it wasn't stashed up there, that he carried it upstairs.
He carried it, I understand. And there are also arguments being made that his leg was not bending when he was walking, but it looked like his leg was bending. So I get all the questions about the argument made by the state. Like, I'm not telling you, I'm just like, oh, this is cut and dry. It's not. Perfect. I don't know why they make the arguments they do. I read the same things you did. I read the charging document. I didn't see anything that was completely out of space. But here's what I read from this summary here. And this is coming from the New York Times reporting. It's coming from The Guardian. It's coming from DC News Now, whatever the hell that is, BBC and Fox. So multiple different aggregates saying the preliminary evidence hearings, which is just what took place in July, a couple weeks ago, they say completely identical. I don't know about that. It says the State Bureau of Investigation Sergeant Jennifer, whatever her name is, testified the screwdriver was collected as evidence directly from the rooftop of the Losi building. That's not the same thing as saying that it was exactly where the guy was laying down. Being on the rooftop within 10 feet of each other. And if you've ever collected evidence, it's like you'll localize it to a place, and it might be like dresser of bedroom 1, but it might also just be like, on the kitchen counter, and it may not say that it was next to the toaster versus the sink. So being in a general area, sometimes they write these things up and they're not super, they're not specific. Here's the defense challenge. That let's do both sides. The prosecution consistently kept the screwdriver's location on the rooftop. They've challenged the DNA testing method. So one of the questions that I have is, and I know people are going to say that the defense is not doing their job. The question is, what questions that are being brought up by the Candace, the Barons, the Ian were brought up during this preliminary hearing? Which ones did they say these are obviously problems we should have, and with the narrative? So they're going to take the podcast questions and turn them into actual questions during the preliminary hearing. Did any of them get raised, as far as you know?
In the hearing itself?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the entire purpose of the preliminary hearing was to challenge whether or not there was probable cause.
There was not enough evidence available before the hearing to analyze that specific thing. So like, I think that, and the hearings were long. Mm-hmm. They were like 8 hours. Yeah. So like, I think a lot of this stuff is post hearing. I know as far as I was concerned, like I didn't really invest a lot of time into understanding or paying attention to this beyond being like, that's suspicious and weird, until the preliminary hearing. Because again, it's like, there's a limited amount of evidence that's out there. So let's see what they present as evidence. Any amount of things are weird don't really hit as the same until this preliminary hearing where they reveal certain things. So a lot of the analysis, I think, from them has been post that. And we're like, what, 2 weeks, not even 2 weeks into that now? So like, they're analyzing the things that were presented in the hearings, how those connect with the things that were previously announced via the media or whomever else, and they're comparing and contrasting those things. So like, we got the story of the screwdriver, because I want to get into the evidence that doesn't line up. Body cam,
not right number of people on the roof as through the testimony. That does happen, by the way. People get eyewitnesses are awful at that stuff. And if they didn't have, and if you don't have a scene cordoned off where you actually have somebody that's on a like a clipboard that's saying who's on and off, and they may have run up there and done a hasty search, which is probably not great. What they probably should have done is, cordoned off the area. Maybe they were looking for additional threats. Who knows what they were? But yeah, saying there's 2 people when there's 4, that's an inconsistency. 100%. You bring that up as a defense. You impeach the witness with that. Sure. Your body cam didn't go off. Are you trying to hide something, or are you just incompetent at charging your body cam? Those are both inconsistencies. You get to bring that up. No question. Yeah. If somebody actually made the claim, and it doesn't seem like they did, and it doesn't seem like the defense challenged this, that the screwdriver was found in one place but found in another place, I think that was Kash Patel being dumb. If I'm going to be fair about that, maybe not great for optics, very, very bad for PR. And this was part of his whole flubbing of the situation. Yeah. But I'm on board with you. So you got questions about the DNA. So the defense challenged the DNA testing methods.
Yes, I'll just say
that's what they went with.
Yeah, and I'll just say one thing. For the Karen Reed trial that I mentioned before about her killing her Boston cop boyfriend, the original case, and I think this is relevant. The original case that had a hung jury, and then she had a second trial. The original case, the defense tried to prove that there was a conspiracy to cover it up. So they tried to prove that there was a conspiracy that existed to cover it up and cover up her guilt or cover up her innocence. Right. And as a result, they walked them down all these potential pathways to blow holes in the witnesses.
Yes.
In the second trial, the thing that they did was brilliant, was that they disproved the facts against her guilt, as opposed to dispositing what other things went on. All they did was try to disprove their evidence of guilt. So I think
that actually is exactly what is the Brian Cole argument. If you want to find the analogy here, I think this that people are talking about is they are looking to find a conspiracy where one may not exist. By the way, it tends to be not very successful, as you pointed out in the Karen Reed trial. This thing that people like Steve Baker are proving is that Brian Cole Jr. could not have been the person that dropped the pipe bombs because his feet aren't the same size, because there's a watch that doesn't match and he doesn't wear a watch, and there was a watch during the time. You can also add in the fact that eyewitnesses said that the pipe bomber was white and Brian Cole Jr. is black and not easily mistaken for white. So right. the proportions of the spine and his pelvis and his torso. So when you start getting into like disproving versus suggesting something else happened, I'm agreeing with you on that one. That is much more successful to prove this guy couldn't have done it.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. So the fact that the prosecution didn't dispute the location of the screwdriver doesn't necessarily mean that won't come up. It just means that let's call it like the linchpin of their argument, which is the DNA. If you could blow apart the most compelling part, it's better for you to blow that apart than it is to suggest that they found it somewhere else. Something that would be harder for you to prove versus disprove what they're presenting. So the fact that the prosecution maybe didn't use that at this stage is what I'm saying is that may be more strategic versus it not being an issue.
For whatever it's worth, evidence recovery and the way that evidence logs work, I think it'd be very difficult for you to claim that it was initially found somewhere, because what happens is, just for your kind of background awareness, when you do a seizure of an item in a search, what happens is they take photographs of it, what they call in situ, so where it physically is, and then they do a detail, and then you'll end up with this picture like this. So this is like a detail picture, right? So first they'll take a picture of like a bush or like where the trail is relative to the bush. Then they'll take a picture of the bush itself, and then they'll take a picture of the gun in the bush up close, and then they'll do a detail photo of this where it's like laid out so you can see what it is.
Yeah, well, that's in a cardboard box.
Well, so this is the final, the detail picture. So they did this after they would have taken pictures. There's probably 3 other pictures of this thing, to be fair. But the same thing with the screwdriver. You'll notice it'll be like screwdriver seized, rooftop, and they may note near air conditioning unit, or they might just say, rooftop. It may not say much more than that. So it depends on how these people work. So when you seize evidence, they would have a really difficult time of seizing screwdriver, rooftop, and then also deleting that from the log and then creating a new one saying it was seized, out in the woods or something like that. That would be a lot harder to do, because now you're creating new paperwork. And is it impossible? No, I'm just going to tell you that it's going to look a lot shadier when the defense looks, because things will be numbered out of order.
Yeah, and I'm not disputing that.
Okay, I'm just telling you where I think they're going to have a hard time proving that, especially because that doesn't seem like what they were arguing. What are the other big holes? Because we can sit screwdriver stuff all day, and it's going to be either in or out based on the evidence of the DNA, and they'll challenge the DNA, which they've done.
Yep.
The judge, it seems like they accepted it. I'm interested in other major holes that seem like they were inconsistencies.
Well,
and I'm with you. Like, by the way, cops saying the wrong number, that's a problem. Body cam footage dying, got it. Inconsistent, 100%. People having a public narrative versus what is actually in the evidence. The evidence is going to take precedence, but it's bad for the public, 100%. Yep. What else we got?
There was a bullet found. There was a non-spent bullet
from a 223.
An unfired bullet found on another rooftop.
And that was explained apparently by the cop who dropped it, like cleared a rifle.
Oh, they said that he cleared his rifle and just left the bullet there.
Mm-hmm.
What is that? Why was there a cop? Why was there a cop? First and foremost, why was there a cop on the rooftop with a rifle after they supposedly detained the suspect? Why was there was no cops up there with rifles while he was speaking. This didn't happen immediately in the after. And then on top of it, why did he expel this bullet and then leave it on the ground at an active crime scene? Why is that? Why would you do that? Does any cop ever do that? Do you do that? Have you ever done that?
I have not done that, but I can imagine someone clearing a weapon, especially in a rifle.
And just leaving the bullet there?
Then they have to explain it. Yeah, then you have to go, okay, well, this came from this batch. Here's the thing. All cop ammo is registered by batch, and it's almost always given out. So, like, if I were to shoot, I still have rounds that, that are sitting in magazines that I probably have from when I was in the FBI. And if I were to shoot them somewhere and they were to go recover it, they'd be like, oh, this is federal ammo. It's 55 grain, open match tip. This thing was, made in this particular lot. And they can go back and track and find out. It's like, oh, that was sold in an FBI contract, and it was probably sent like during this time frame. Yep. So that would associate back to me. So unless the claim is that Charlie Kirk was shot with a 223 round or a 5.56 round out of an AR, and it's cop ammo, then it's just a guy who dropped something, and then they do what's called an exclusion. Listen, you can get your fingerprints in a crime scene. It happens. And they do what's called an exclusionary list. So I'm just explaining that, this is how they would go back and cover for this. They would say, okay, well, the cop dropped it. He went up there looking for an active shooter on a rooftop with a rifle, which is what you would do. And when everything was all clear and they said they had somebody in custody, which, by the way, they didn't get him for 33 hours. So they grabbed that guy, which was weird.
They arrested the guy on spot.
What guy?
George Zinn.
Yeah, they arrested the George Zinn guy, right? So they grabbed a guy on the scene, and so then they said everything is good to go. That guy may have cleared his rifle and then put it back in his, and didn't pick up the round. Maybe he couldn't find it. Maybe he was distracted. Maybe he just blew it. Maybe he's a sloppy cop. I don't know. I don't know any of the reasons. And if they go back and they go, hey, we found this round, as I understand it, that round was explained, and it was explained as it was a cop who cleared a rifle, and he left it up there, and it wasn't in a place where there was a shot.
Right.
Okay, and I don't think anybody's making the claim that he was shot with a 5.56 round.
No, that's not. No, that's not. So that's not the claim. It's just It's just weird. It's just very suspicious. It's very peculiar. My point is not to suggest that I understand what that means. It's just like why. Okay. Why is that?
Taken in what it is, and that goes everywhere from some nefarious guy was up there with a rifle doing something shady to a cop was sloppy and dropped a round, and it had to be explained later. Okay, I get the perspective of that.
Could certainly be explained, yeah, but it's just like it's very strange. Mm-hmm. So like the other thing about one of the things that they're considering to be damning evidence is the supposed video footage or photo evidence of Tyler Robinson, of which Tyler Robinson's own live-in boyfriend has suggested that he cannot positively identify that as Tyler Robinson. So you showed his boyfriend the video and the photo evidence, and they said, is that Tyler Robinson? And he said, I can't definitively say. He wears clothes like that. He wears hats. I've never seen him in that hat, but he wears hats. It kind of looks like him. So it's like you have this footage, this video footage and photo evidence that even his own live-in boyfriend supposedly cannot identify. So the conclusiveness of the video evidence is very low. Whereas
what about the parents?
Well, the parents haven't spoken publicly about it.
Mm-hmm. Were they interviewed during the were they put on the stand at all?
No.
I should ask that.
No, they were not. Okay. So that's another anomaly. Now another thing, and again in the weird category is Tyler Robinson said, Tyler Robinson's live-in boyfriend said that they never one time ever discussed Charlie Kirk. He never heard him say a word about Charlie Kirk. He wasn't even a very political guy. He wasn't that involved in politics. They never discussed LGBTQ issues, and that he was not a outwardly political guy. He had mentioned a few things that frustrated him about Trump in passing. But it's like, if you're going to throw your life away and potentially commit suicide or spend life in jail. You think you would mention Charlie Kirk's name one time to the guy that you're supposedly doing it for or whatever in his honor. That's very suspicious. So now that you just put that in the weird category.
Okay.
The other thing is the supposed note. There was a supposed note that proved his guilt. So he writes a note supposedly and leaves it under the keyboard of his computer that confesses outright to his boyfriend that he went and killed Charlie Kirk. It's a confession note. So he leaves this note there, and then he supposedly texts Lance Twiggs later, and he says, "Go look underneath my keyboard for this note." Lance Twiggs reads the confession note. After he just said he was trying to leave no evidence in the text messages, Tyler Robinson said, "I was trying to leave no evidence." Now you literally text message a complete admission of your guilt to the guy.
Yeah, for sure. All that stuff is really dumb. 100%.
And you write a note. And what's the purpose of the note if he loves you? So then Lance Twiggs takes a photo of the note. Why would you take a photo? Why would you take a photo of the note?
And then throw it away? I don't know. People do all kinds of weird stuff.
Okay, but he didn't throw it away either. He just took a photo of it and did not throw it away. That's very strange. Why would you do that? So then,
didn't they say that the note was gone?
No, that's the thing. When Tyler Robinson gets home later that night, Lance Twiggs doesn't know what happens with the note. Supposedly, the note is burned. So the note is lit on fire. So there's no evidence on the note anymore. There's no DNA on it. There's no pen pressure. There's no ink. There's no handwriting analysis. There's none of those things that we could use to analyze this physical piece of evidence. But there's a photo of it that Lance Twiggs supposedly took. And then there's this piece of paper that's 85% burned and a bunch of ash. And a photo of this note was inserted or introduced as evidence. Okay. Dude, if you're trying to burn a confession note, you mean to tell me that you can't figure out how to burn a piece of paper? You can't figure out how to burn a piece of paper. Okay. One, to destroy the paper outright. You can't figure out how to burn the whole piece. You're going to leave 30% of it and then what? Put it in the garbage can at your office and just leave it there? This is a confession note. This is a key piece of evidence to your potential life imprisonment, but you can't burn it all the way. You could burn it. You're going to burn it, but you're not going to burn all of it. What the hell is that?
I'm tracking you. Yeah, that makes sense. Again, put it in the category of weird things. That also, we have to realize people who get caught do really dumb things. It's kind of dumb to go out in broad daylight and be an assassin with a rifle. Yeah. like that. Like that's not how assassinations get done.
Sure. Yeah.
Except by people who are incompetent who get caught.
And again, the purpose is not to draw a conclusion definitively in and of itself of one individual piece of evidence. It just paints a broader picture where it's like we should pay more attention. Again, I'm not saying Tyler Robinson is innocent. I'm just saying I'm not convinced of his guilt. So the things that are,
I'm going to ask you something too, though.
Yep.
Would you admit that that human beings make errors all the time?
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay. So we're dealing with this human situation. And here's where I think the problem is. And this is why I think it makes for great podcast stuff. But most people's experience with a homicide investigation is that they saw some on TV and it's wrapped up in an hour. So they watched Law and Order, or they watched other police procedurals. That, they watch Columbo or something. I don't know how old you are, but you
Columbo,
take a pick.
39.
Like put somebody in the category of what homicide investigation experience do you have? It's what I've seen on CSI or some other police procedural, NCIS.
Certainly,
like
yes,
that, right?
That's fair. I don't purport to be an investigator.
I'm not talking about even you. I'm just talking about human beings in this country who are ingesting this information.
Yep.
They must think that cops do things perfectly all the time, that they don't dick it up and not charge their body cam or drop around somewhere or leave fingerprints that they shouldn't that have to be excluded later. There are a million mistakes that happen on every single scene because you have a bunch of people that show up that basically woke up in the middle of the, they either woke up in the middle of the night or they walked out of their normal day where they were like, oh, I'm going to have to do some spreadsheets today. And they're typing along. And then somebody's like, hey, we need 9 FBI agents to show up at this building and go do a search for a gun. And they're like, oh, that sounds exciting. That's way more exciting than spreadsheets. And then they show up with whatever, ask for gear that they have and their, all the mistakes that they're going to bring with it and their low sleep and maybe they're having a fight with their wife and all the other things that go on into it. Yep. So we don't end up in a space where perfect investigations get taken no matter how important they are. In fact, the more important they are, probably the more they dick it up on things because they're going to be scrutinized and you're over here looking at it and the scrutiny is fair. I'm not saying it's not.
Okay.
It's totally unrealistic to think that CSI level perfection takes place in all these investigations because it doesn't. Like you go find stuff all the time. You're like, how did we seize this? Why am I returning pocket trash to an inmate at a high security prison for a bank robbery from 10 years ago? Like, but here I am. Dude, do you want your pocket lint and your gloves? Do you want this material back? I'll give you these gloves if they'll, can I throw them away? Will you sign this paper? Because we seized gloves for some reason and they're not even his. They're like pink and he's a, tattooed musclehead. Weird stuff happens in these investigations all the time. The thing that's different is that most people have never actually seen one up close and gotten really close to seeing like, what are the weird inconsistencies you have to overcome as a prosecutor? And that doesn't mean that Tyler Robinson did it. Because again, I don't know. I'm just pointing out of these things, what you're saying, it doesn't blow my hair back like, holy shit. Yeah, that crushes this.
Yeah, I
think you said the same thing too.
I don't think that any one thing definitively is like a blowback, but I think that the sum of all its parts, you're like, dude, what is that? It's just very suspicious. Again, I'm not purporting to know that he did or didn't do it. I'm just saying I'm not convinced of his guilt.
That's fine.
I'm including all this other ancillary information, of which there is a mountain of it, which is like, why is that? But anyhow, let's go back to the specifics. So like the bullet fragments, for example, they said that the bullet fragments found in Charlie Kirk cannot be definitively tied to Tyler Robinson's gun.
They said to any gun, I think.
Right. Okay. So again, I'm not saying it didn't come from his gun. I'm just saying that that's not there. The bullet being provably from his gun is not there. Okay. Yep. The next thing is the idea, their contention that he was shot with the 30-06. Look, I'm not a gun expert. You're a gun expert way more than I am. Based on every piece of available evidence that I've seen, every person that's shown every possible explanation for what would happen if a 30-06 was shot at a human neck, every video explanation that I've seen makes it seem highly implausible that a 30-06 did that type of damage. In addition to that, based on the way that they explained the autopsy and what part of his spine that it hit, the angle that they explained of how it hit and why it didn't go completely through, those seem very peculiar to me. I'm not a ballistics expert. To me, the 30-06 argument is a big argument, but I don't know enough about guns to say that. But that is something that everybody is contending, that a normal 30-06 round at that angle would have blown right through him and there would have been an exit wound. So that's something that Ian Carroll, that Baron Coleman, that Candace Owens, and that a multitude of other people that are talking about this case, especially the weapons, ammo type of people, are all saying that that's impossible.
It's definitely not impossible.
Near impossible.
So the problem with bullets is that we're never going to simulate the exact same angle of approach without being able to see what it was, and we don't have the medical report. But look, I've seen no exit wound on a 30-06 on a deer, and deer are considered to be medium to thin skin, like medium-sized game. They're not much bigger than people. 160-pound deer compared to a 200-pound man. I don't know. I've seen them stop and hit spine and break, and just that's it. It happens all the time. But the question is again,
I don't know that. That's just what
I know you don't. And I see every time I see this argument, it's like we're arguing about shit that nobody can know. I've seen 5.56 rounds zip right through people and come out the other side. They'll go through and through wounds. People have them. This is the argument that was made against why that round was too small for military use. I've also seen it stop dead in someone's chest and it got stopped by muscle and no bone. Like I've seen a 5.56 just lodge in somebody's heart with no exit wound. So they happen. These kind of things, like bullets do the weirdest shit. And anybody who's saying, well, I know what a bullet is going to do when it hits a solid body. It's not the same as ballistics. It's not the same as a side of pork. It's not the same as shooting a deer. Like living tissue is the closest thing, but you're never going to get the same shot. So noted, like weird things. Yes, 30-06 is a powerful round that oftentimes will, go through and throughs depending on where it hits, unless it doesn't. So I get it. It's a question that people have. It's stopped in other people. It's stopped in people in military conflicts forever, because 30-06 used to be a round that was used by the military, by the United States military at the turn of the last century. Sometimes it stops, sometimes it don't.
And maybe I certainly am not here to argue that. I'm not a gun expert, so I don't know. But one of the things that is hotly debated and contested is the entry point, how it hit those specific aspects of his spine, the fact that there was no exit wound, as well as the idea that it came in at this angle and it hit these certain things. So look,
I'll tell you, the video looks super weird. I have put hands on people after they've been shot. It looks so weird. There's the shirt puff. I get it. I don't know what the answer to that is. Was it a necklace? Was there some lightweight body armor underneath there that's never been brought up? Who knows? And again, I didn't examine the body. So when we're sitting here looking at it, I just go, a lot of questions. I'm tracking that question. That one is a big one because we're talking about a powerful weapon
Yep.
Even shot from a shitty old Mauser, like shot from a roof. Getting hit with a round like that, I don't know what happens to people. People get hit in the bicep with a 22 and it ends up lodged in their brain pan. And so they've got some in their head somewhere. And it's a very not strong round that rides up spines and does weird things. The joke is if you get shot in the hand with a 22, like you're probably going to die only if you're a cop. And if you're a bad guy and you get shot with like a, like an AR or something and you get shot in the freaking chest, then you're going to live. All kinds of weird things happen when bullets happen. So they do weird things all the time.
Yep, and categorize that as a inconclusive. We analyze what we have. We have experts that say X, and we won't know for sure till we see the autopsy.
So 100% agree.
So
I put that in the category of weird shit. 100%.
Put it in the category of weird. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so like that's another one. The shirt. I think the shirt is very, very compelling and very peculiar.
Tell me what the shirt is. First of all, what is the observation of the shirt? What is the likely explanations that people have about the shirt?
The first and foremost, his Rode microphone is on the inside of his shirt, which any person that records audio knows that you would want the microphone to be on the outside of the shirt. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense why the microphone would be on the inside of his shirt to begin with. Now, to be fair, there was other evidence and other video footage of Charlie Kirk wearing that same microphone or same style of microphone at other events, and it was shown at least one other event on the inside of his shirt. But
this is a Rode with like a magnetic, is that right? So he has a little magnetic dot on the outside and it's on the inside?
Yes, there's at least one other event that showed it on the inside of his shirt at another event. But there were other events that showed it on the outside of his shirt. So whatever, that's weird. Another weird category. Why is it there? The second thing is that
I don't know if that's weird at all to me.
Okay, well,
only because look, I've done TV. They'll place microphones. I've done movies. They'll place microphones. They put them inside. They want to conceal it. They make it less obtrusive so it doesn't look because the Rode microphone is like a square that's about 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches.
Yeah,
and it's kind of like a jonky looking thing. It's kind of a chonky.
Yeah, but he wore it on the outside. I mean,
sometimes he wore it on the outside. Maybe he had a different mic guy who came from a different background. I'm tracking. Okay, so that's a thing that doesn't mean necessarily anything one way or another.
It's just a strange thing. So it's like, I don't know. Yeah, maybe there's justification of it. Fine, but like
it's a high wind day and you want to shield it. People put all kinds of stuff up to make that. So I get it.
And that's fine. No problem with that. His necklace blew off when this thing shot him in the neck. Didn't hit the necklace. His necklace blew off completely. You can see it in the video footage.
How do we know that it didn't hit the necklace?
I don't know. It didn't look like it hit the necklace. Your necklace is not up here.
Yeah. And how do we know?
We don't know.
How do we know it got blown off? Wait a minute.
Because there's video evidence of the necklace falling off his body. You can see the necklace snap and fall off his body.
And is that reported in some? This is just this is from people watching on the video. Is that correct?
Yeah, and like, look, that one is not even a huge part of it. But let's just okay, fine, we can leave that out. But that is one of the things. It's
I'm fine with you leaving it in. I just want to know. I don't know that.
It certainly looks like the necklace is blown off his body. Okay, that's very peculiar. The shirt puffing up is very peculiar as well. Like, why does the shirt puff up before the bullet is shown hitting?
Yeah, it looked like body armor, but.
There was other video footage and photos that showed basically like his nipples sticking through the t-shirt because it was a t-shirt, which would allude to there being no body.
What's Gary's last name? Gary at Paramount Tactical.
Melton.
Gary and I have talked about this, and they're chest plates are a thing. Generally speaking, you're going for a low ballistic threat, so you're looking for pistols to be able to stop that. You can get very, very thin versions. I don't know if that's what the case was when I first saw it, and I don't watch it very often anymore because it's actually kind of unsettling to watch. It's jarring, but it did look like body armor at that point in time. I've never heard him say it again. I heard John Solomon talk about it being body armor like within the 48 hours. Yeah, that was weird. Because we never heard about it again.
Yeah, and maybe there was, but it's like I'm not the definitive. I'm just a guy that cares about justice for Charlie Kirk, and I'm analyzing the things that are there. There are varying degrees of importance. I'm just trying to go timeline. Let's even. I don't know that has been discussed to a thorough degree. So maybe we leave that. But that was something that I saw.
I'm just saying the performance of the shirt looked like there was something that was happening under the shirt.
Yes, it appeared
whatever
that
way.
Was. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. And I don't know what it was, but it appeared that way. Okay, so then let's keep going down the timeline. Now, George Zinn, for example, admits that he's guilty, or he says that he did it on site right away.
Right.
So it's like, why is that? It's like,
Yeah,
why
and
did he do that? Again, I don't know. Very weird. Just a very peculiar incident. So George then says it. He gets walked out of there. His pants fall down. He says, I'm the one that did it. And then days later, it's reported that he tells people at the hospital that he was promised payment for doing this. And then George then gets arrested for having CSAM on his phone.
Right.
And we never hear,
that was super weird. I agree with you.
we never hear from him again. That's weird.
Wasn't he somewhere like around, he was around some other famous controversy somewhere too.
Yeah.
Weird dude.
Yeah. Very weird dude. Doesn't necessarily mean anything. Just very peculiar. It's just very peculiar happening. It's very strange. And then like he says that to the nurses that he thought he was going to get paid. The guy seems delusional enough that he could certainly be convinced to do something stupid. And so we don't know.
That's the FBI's wheelhouse. So
right. So we don't know. So we don't know what goes on there. Then So then immediately in the aftermath, again, this is you have to chalk it up into the weird category, not necessarily the evidence category, but like Charlie Kirk's like right-hand man, basically immediately calmly walks away. Like his boss and his friend gets shot in cold blood in the middle of the thing. And he just like casually walks in the other direction. And that's
was there a explanation that was given? Cause I'm guessing that guy's been interviewed, but
I don't believe that there's any official court explanation of that. I don't know that he's been cited in anything.
Was he the guy that showed up on Sean Ryan's podcast?
That was the security guy. That was Brian Harpole. Not
okay. So that wasn't the same guy.
No, Mikey McCoy was Charlie Kirk's like right hand man.
Got it.
Who immediately like it's just mad weird. Like
okay,
the dude
so
gets shot.
Hold on. What is the left and the right boundary of what that people think that means? Not you specifically, but what are the arguments that people have made?
The argument on the left side is people act irregular when traumatic things happen.
Okay. What's the other side?
The other side is your boy gets shot and you just calmly walk the other direction.
So it goes from people do weird things when trauma happens to like he's in on it. Is that fair?
Well, it's not necessarily that he's
Is that not what people are arguing? Am I?
Perhaps. Well, you can draw that conclusion, but the idea would be that behavior would lead one to believe potentially that he had foreknowledge of it.
Okay.
I don't know that he did. What the hell?
I know. I'm not making an argument you did. I'm just trying to figure out where people are kind of sitting because they see something and people either go like, "Oh, that's weird. That's a you move. That's fair. I'm into that. That is weird. That's a weird thing to do."
He didn't run. He didn't take cover. He didn't go help him. He casually walked the other direction. Super weird. Okay.
Yeah, people do strange thing in trauma, or all the way up to you knew this was coming and this doesn't.
Yeah, the other guy, which was, I believe, Terrell Farnsworth was his name, was the videographer. His immediate move is to go and take the memory cards out of the camera.
Yep.
But leave the camera there. Right. Supposedly because it's expensive and people were taking stuff. Well, you take the $50 SD card and not the $3,000 camera. That doesn't make sense. Then he jumps up on this ledge that's right behind the murder scene, and he records a selfie video of himself as Charlie Kirk is being taken away to the car. Yep. He's like, they just killed Charlie. And he shoots this very weird, very suspicious, very peculiar selfie video announcing that they killed Charlie or they shot Charlie immediately in the aftermath. Just weird. very peculiar, very weird behavior that we don't know what it is, but just like chalk it up to the weird category. It's very strange. Why would you do that?
Okay.
So, that's just because Candace Owens happened to get a hold of this video. Otherwise, we wouldn't even know that it was there.
Well, he recorded it, and then where did it go?
He sent it to her.
Did he post it anywhere else?
I don't know that he posted it anywhere else, but he sent it to Candace.
Okay.
Why? I don't know, but that's very strange. So those behaviors are very strange. So then now, there was over 2,000. There's again another strange and very peculiar anomaly. There was over 2,000 people that were at this event, probably 3,000. The law in the state of Utah for mass gatherings is that there needs to be a paramedic or an ambulance on site in the event of a mass gathering.
Yep.
In the original declaration, I guess, or original documentation that was presented to UVU was they expected that there was going to be 500 people or less there, which means that it wouldn't qualify. And then they later increased that number to it was like 250, and they later increased it to 500, something like that. Neither of which would fall in this category. Whereas you have a nationally recognized political figure on campus in a small campus that has millions upon millions of followers online. They announce it a week or whatever in advance. How could you possibly think there's going to be 250 people there of a campus with 30,000 people in the middle of the day while the people are on campus during the school year? It's like to think that there would be less than that amount of people is like unrealistic. So it's like, so that's just like another anomaly where it's like, why is there not an ambulance on site? It's very strange.
I said that right away. So that 100%, that's a terrible move. I've been on scene for gatherings of 200 or less. It doesn't matter. If there's a possibility that there's going to be heat, which there was, or you have somebody have like a fall injury, or you have people of any age, 100%. You always put an ambulance on standby. That's totally normal. Doesn't cost very much. That would be a standard thing for most things. I said that right away. That was very bizarre.
So very peculiar. Then on top of that, God, there's so many little things.
Listen, I'll tell you this though. If I was going to go out there and stage some sort of event, I wouldn't leave holes like this though. If I was going to stage an assassination of somebody and I wanted to like make sure that it looked legit, like I wouldn't be not having an ambulance.
And that's a reasonable way to look at it. But
see, my question is bigger. My broader question is why do people think there has to be something conspiratorial? And I think a lot of people do think there has to be. And I'm not claiming you do. There's a lot of people that think there has to be because everything has to be a lie right now. So I get into this dangerous category of either. And I think this is a post-COVID phenomenon. I think you and I probably both see this. One of them is I'm a skeptic of everything. I got a lot of questions. You got to explain to me, show me evidence, and I'll believe what makes sense based on evidence. So like that's the skeptic route. And then the other one is I'm going to believe whatever the hell I want because they lie to me anyway. So I'm just going to make it up. And it's very exciting to be part of like my own theory of whatever's going on in the world. And there's a lot of people and they end up in the flat earth category. These are the people that say, I don't think we had the technology to land on the moon. That's why I know that the firmament is above us and like all these fixed stars. So some people basically just go, I don't believe what you said. Therefore, whatever I think is just as good. And what I see is a lot of people on the questioning side, on the far end of the questioning side, who have already decided, I've got a story and I'm going to basically find the facts that fit it, whether or not it makes any sense. Yeah. Those people are scary to me.
Yes.
And I'm not claiming you're in that, obviously, like that's why we're chatting. And I want to know what they're seeing that makes them go that route because there might be enough there. I just haven't heard any of it yet that makes me go, obviously this all stacks up into it's evil operation to eliminate an important political figure in America. For me, it's the same thing as believing that it has to be the case that the government was in on what happened at Butler. For me, the answer was always that there was a myth of a competency, that the Secret Service actually just they're not that good at what they claim they do. You think there's going to be this impenetrable wall of safety because you have a security detail from the Secret Service. And in reality, like Reagan got shot too. Like when people try to shoot somebody who's the president, sometimes they succeed. Like a freakishly high number of people succeed.
Yeah.
And the only ones that don't are the ones that are really retarded, like that are deeply, deeply flawed. And they have come up with ideas like maybe I could use this backpack full of tile as body armor. Like that guy doesn't get successful, but the dude who actually climbs up on a roof with that does a little bit of foreplanning with a drone and measures some distances and finds an angle, that guy ends up getting a shot off. So,
I'm willing
we're living in that world.
I'm willing to accept that that's the case. Again, it's like, it is not my contention that he is innocent. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying I haven't proven that he's guilty. So totally. Again, now the next thing about it is like, that is highly probable, but it is very important to not dismiss it is. And I'm not saying that you're doing this, but it's very important to not dismiss a theory because some fringe element that ties onto that theory makes some outrageous contention that in theory is like negating all of the other positions, where it's like if I say that I question the 9/11 story and then some guy says there was never a plane at all, it's like, well, people that are interested in the official story being muddied could introduce misinformation and or bad actors into a theory to dismiss that theory outright. That
kind of gets closer to what I think is more likely than not, for whatever it's worth.
And maybe that's the case, but like even like in the case of like Pizzagate, for example, it's like a guy goes there and shoots it up. Therefore, talking about Pizzagate is bad. Therefore, none of it is real because this crazy guy did this thing. It's all out. So it's like it is. I think it's unrealistic to believe that in the event that some factions of people were seeing to benefit, that they wouldn't also introduce some crazy person to muddy it all up and or some crazy theory to potentially muddy it up. Like they understand misinformation, they understand controlled opposition. So it's like in the event that what is actually, I think, potentially could have happened, it's like you're talking about like the highest factions of power in the world. You're not talking about like Kash Patel put the hit out on him. It's like, it could be like very powerful people of which global affairs are potentially involved. Because killing Charlie Kirk is not just killing a man named Charlie Kirk. It's not just killing a guy that goes and does on-campus events. That's not what you're killing. You're killing the potential leader of the most significant and most influenceable voting bloc that vote and will future vote about global affairs as it relates to America. Charlie Kirk was friends with the president of the United States. Charlie Kirk was instrumental in getting the president of the United States elected. Charlie Kirk had influence and or access to millions, if not tens of millions of young people that will be the most significant and largest voting bloc very soon. He can influence them one way or the other. He was a large proponent against the Iran war, which is very important to a specific country, as well as, let's call it our own country. Let's also say the military-industrial complex that makes money off that war and the associated acts that benefit as a result of that war being carried out. So there's a lot of people that see to benefit as a result of this man being murdered.
One of those things assumes that we actually vote.
Well, fine.
I think that matters.
Well, fine, but I'm not a voting doesn't matter type of cat.
I think we'll get you there.
Well, people always beef with me on that, and it's like, all right, well, it's like we have like people do vote. It counts to some degree. I get it, but whatever.
Okay,
we don't need to debate that.
I know that people vote. I just don't know that it matters. And one of the fun evidence we had over the weekend, our president got up on last Thursday night and said that the Chinese stole the election in 2020 and that they were deeply manipulating it. And then a couple days later, our FBI director flew to China to go hang out there and like high five those dudes and talk about deeply interesting things, but not involving election information.
Yeah, he funneled beers with them in the locker room as well.
That's right. And he was like,
China!
They were partying.
I just love China.
Just love it so much.
The big China fan since I was a kid.
Anyway. So I'm in the category. I'm like, I do think there's a narrative fight there, but I'm not sure that I think you needed Donald Trump one way or another, and I don't think it mattered whether Charlie Kirk was on side or not. That's just me looking at that from the other side, because
fine. But
I think otherwise there's violence in the streets because people go like, oh, it is all fake and gay. It is not actually going to happen. It actually doesn't matter.
I'm just saying that like when you assess, again, and I'm not a murder investigator, I just watch a lot of true crime, but it's like in the event that you are looking at a murder, like generally speaking, it's like who had the motive, who had the opportunity, who sees to benefit, where's the money go? So it's just like in the event that Charlie Kirk was still alive and he was against the Iran war, a lot of money is involved. A lot of people are involved. A lot of power is involved. A lot of global affairs are involved. If your most outspoken voice that has influence over the young people is against this thing that sees to potentially benefit and or whatever, help your cause. So it's just like there's a lot of people that are seeing to benefit. So that's just part of the analysis of what it is. Does that prove that it wasn't one thing or the other? No, it's just, okay, well, let's acknowledge that. Like your wife, leave Erica Kirk out of it. I have no beef with Erica Kirk. Maybe she's bad, maybe she's not. Certainly have seen a lot of things that lead me to believe that there might be something there. I don't know. I've never met her personally. I've certainly been in the room with her at the events. But like to say like she became the CEO and chairman of a $100+ million organization. She became very famous, very fast, and she will likely have a lot of political authority and clout going forward. Is anybody going to deny that Erica Kirk did not have a power benefit? You could say she didn't have a financial benefit because in theory, Charlie Kirk would have continued to make money over the course of her life. That's fine. You could say that. But what if they got a divorce? Does she have that same benefit? Does she have that same power? Does she have that same fame? No. Again, I'm not here to debate Erica Kirk. That doesn't fall necessarily into the question of is Tyler Robinson guilty? It's just part of the ancillary collection of information. I'm not here to criticize her. I'm just saying that let's acknowledge unemotionally that that's a fair person to look at. Here's the person.
Yeah, you always look at the spouse first. That makes sense. Okay, also, fine. I think she's a weirdo. She was a pageant chick.
Yeah.
So
fine.
I like.
Yeah. And then, like,
to begin with, I wouldn't have liked. I didn't like her before, and I don't like her now. She's not. I'm not a fan of women that do that and look for that kind of energy. And but that's neither here nor there.
And like it's like why is she lying about the people that she dated? Why does she lie about the relationship that she is in? Why did she lie about when and how she met Charlie Kirk? Why is that origin story so strange? Why did Charlie Kirk specifically talk about the mother of children not being in the workplace and that's a failure? Yet she immediately within a month or whatever becomes the chairman CEO, is doing all these events and is not with which is in direct conflict with Charlie's You know what I mean? With Charlie's stated.
Oh, I hate it. I hate it.
So again, those are all in the weird category. But let's go back to the hard evidence part of it. Now, the other part is that in the aftermath of this, it's like Charlie Kirk was one of the statements from Brian Harpole, who is the head security, is that they did not use drones to surveil the property to figure it out. And his contention was he blamed it on the local police, where he's like, I asked the local police to go and monitor this rooftop, which was an easily accessible rooftop. The guy didn't need to climb up a ladder or go over a barbed wire fence. He literally just steps over the thing and he's on the rooftop. Right. So it's like the most obvious potential shot location when we've had a recent public figure shot from a rooftop. The most obvious potential location where that could happen was not guarded by Charlie's multi-million-dollar security detail. That's number one. You're saying most recently had shot. You're talking about Butler rooftop. Now we have this. Okay.
Yeah, Trump gets shot. I wonder if those guys saw the same. I wonder if the security detail he had saw the same thing. Wasn't there a discussion at the time that there was like, maybe it was the local police were supposed to secure the rooftop and they didn't?
That was Brian Harpole's contention.
He made the claim that somebody else was responsible.
He said that he asked the local police to do it, or that they said they would cover it.
Or campus security would or something.
Yeah, he sent him some text message that said, "Do you got it?" or something like that, and then just didn't make sure that they got it. Mm-hmm. So it's like, okay, that's weird. You have a multi-million-dollar security team. The most obvious vantage point is not covered when it was easily accessible. They said that they planned the site security 10 days in advance. They went to the site. You obviously walk the site. It's like, this rooftop has a clear line of sight, and they didn't guard that rooftop. It's weird.
That, as far as you know, is that security company still in business?
Yeah, as far as I know, yes, they are.
Doesn't that seem like that'd be kind of like a career-ending failure?
Yeah, much like if you worked at Butler in the Secret Service, that you would be fired as well. But
that's the government. I don't expect the government fires people for failing.
That's fine, but yeah.
That's slightly different, only because our government's so bad at that stuff. But you'd think in the private sector, if you lose like a high-value client, nobody is going to look at you and go like, well, you probably learned your lesson from that. Like that should be the end of your business, one would think.
Yeah, right.
I would think that. I would just be like, well, wait, weren't you the guy? Like that's when you have to change your name. You can no longer be called Blackwater. You got to be called like Academy or something.
Soggy Water, yeah. Well, it's like, what would you say you do here? You know?
Right.
Like, you had one job.
We keep people safe, but except when we don't keep them safe, then we make excuses about it. I get it. Like all that stuff is questionable, and I don't know how, but that also leads to, how does that company benefit from failing at that? Unless we're going down the road of like, they had to be part of this, which is kind of where I see a lot of people go. They're like, they had to be part of it.
In this discussion, in the interest of brevity, I don't necessarily think that explaining the potential zones of where it could go or what it could mean are as important to the collection of the information as a whole. It's not for me to conclude what they see to benefit. Everybody knows that people do lots of things for lots of reasons. They could be threatened to violence. They could be paid. And there's a multitude of reasons why people do funny things. So it's like, if you tell Brian Harpole you're going to murder him and murder his entire family, would he do this? Yeah, maybe. If you're telling him you're going to give him $10 million, would he do it? Yeah, maybe. So I don't know. I don't know why. It's just that's weird. He also said that they couldn't fly drones that day when they were flying drones. Frank Turek admitted that
I've seen the videos of the drones. Yep.
Right. So there was drones. So he lied about that. So he said, we can't fly drones, yet they flew drones. Fine. Another lie. Then Brian Harpole's testimony on the Sean Ryan show was that when he got Charlie Kirk to the hospital, that he jumped on top of Charlie Kirk and cut off his shirt so that they could access his chest and apply some whatever in the hospital. And multiple people that have come out that are ER nurses and trauma nurses are like, this would never occur. What do you mean he cut off his shirt? What do you mean a civilian came in there and just cut the guy's shirt off? And as far as I understand,
he said he did that in the hosptal.
Yeah, that's what he said. He said he jumped on top of him and cut off his shirt in the hospital.
Is he confusing his timeline that they did it in the car while they were driving?
Maybe not. But even if he did, again, it's a very peculiar anomaly. Like, why would you even say that? Why would you be cutting off his shirt in the first place? They obviously know to do that. So aside from that, it's like so he's been caught in like multiple kind of lies and or inconsistencies or things that don't make sense. So Brian Harpole is just like a very suspicious character. Now when it comes to other anomalies. It's like one of the things that Andrew Colvett, who is the spokesperson for Turning Point USA, says is he said that he got a direct quote from the surgeon that Charlie had a Superman neck, that his spine blocked whatever. Yet there is no evidence that actually came from that surgeon. I believe the surgeon said that he never said that. So it's like, again, it's just like there's all these weird, very peculiar, very strange lies where it's like, why would you lie about this thing? Why would you say that that's a thing when it's not? Now,
does any of the idea that these people were desperately messaging something the same way that I saw Patel doing it, does that not lead you to the more probable answer for why people say dumb things is that they're trying to appeal to the same guy that is the chubby guy with the mustache that you were quoting in the car, right? The same guy, the Trust the Planium guy. Like there's some really low information audience out there that they just want to be told things that make them feel good. And a Superman neck sounds good. And we found the guy and we found his screwdriver out in the woods. I mean, oops, like I don't know what I'm talking about. Or we got the guy, but it was actually the wrong guy. Like there's an audience for that. It seems like.
Yeah. And
that seems to be more plausible watching these guys because they don't seem like supervillains. They seem like creepers.
Oh, fine. Okay. Yeah.
But I'm talking about the guy that like the gay looking guy and then the trans looking guy that do the show that like, I think they're ghouls. Are they not?
Yes. And again, it's like
they're ghouls that are here. Hold on. Let's play them real quickly. I got a video of them being weird. I'll take a deep breath here, but I don't like these people at all. I look at them and I go like, this is an utterly unlikable group of human beings doing some really weird shit. And like I said, one of them is kind of like a handsome gay man and the other guy looks like he's a failed transgender experiment. And they're sitting here feasting on the corpse of a man that's dead. And his wife seems totally on board with it. Here's what she said, like right afterwards. By the way, have they ever had the guest host that they promised? Like they were going to have new people take over?
I don't think so.
Yeah. The answer I think is no.
The Charlie Kirk show is not going anywhere. My husband's voice will live on. The show will go on. We will have rotating hosts, rotating casts, rotating people coming on.
Some great people next week.
Unbelievable. We will have consistency. The members only group will continue to go on. All of his socials that God has blessed us with, the people who follow those socials will go on. Nothing is changing. But I want to preface, we're not awkward. We're not like weird. Cringy. We're not cringe. We're not going to be tweeting as if it's him. That's tone deaf and really disturbing. And anyone who does that's like morbidly off. Yeah. That's not what's happening. What's happening is the team is keeping this alive because we have Charlie in each and every one of us. Yes. And it is going to be continually the North Star of the conservative movement, of the voice of the youth, of the voice of the base, and that will not end.
Okay, I don't believe anything that any of those people said, just for whatever it's worth.
All right. Yeah. Put it in the weird category.
It's super weird.
Yeah, it's very weird. So another thing that just came to my mind is like one of the things that one of the on scene or the video camera evidence of Tyler Robbins supposedly on the scene. Some of the video footage, they suggest that the gun is in his jeans. He has skinny jeans on. Doesn't look like there's a gun in his jeans. Yep. In some clips, he's bending one leg, and then in other clips, he's bending the other leg, which doesn't lead it to that. When he actually jumps off the rooftop, what it doesn't appear that he has with him is the gun. It appears
did to me. It did to me when I saw that because I've watched that quite a bit. It looks like he's got it in one hand. It looks like he lands with it hitting, which would explain the way that because the question. I mean, I saw this right away, and
looked like more of a jacket. Looked like more of a jacket that he was wearing, or like a sweatshirt.
It's grainy, it's pixels, but that was very plausible to me. And this actually looks consistent with that. So if you look at the gun here, where you got to picture this, and I was talking to Alex Jones about this right away. You'll notice the scope rings are basically bottom out on the turret and the bell, right? So, okay. So let me just orient you to the gun.
Apologies, I'm not a gun.
Okay. So the muzzle of the gun is the barrel. And then at the end of it is the muzzle. If you move up the barrel, you get to where the stock begins. Okay. And underneath it, there's a little sling there. And then right at the beginning of where you see the front of the scope, it's called the bell. And that's the large objective lens. So the largest, fattest part of the scope is the bell. And then you'll see that it basically tapers off to what's called the tube. And at the end of the bell and the beginning of the tube there, you see that that's where the scope ring is. That's not where a scope would normally be set. You'd normally have like some offset of maybe anywhere from 1/2 inch to a full 1.5 inches there. So normally what you'd do is you'd mount your scope forward of that, and that scope looks like it's too far to the rear. And it's consistent with someone putting a scope on normally, not having it cranked down to the point where it can't move, hitting the butt of the scope of the rifle rather. So that's the far end of it, the soft part that goes to your shoulder. When you hit that on the ground, if you hit it at enough force, like, I don't know, jumping off a building, then you could see the scope continues to travel down from inertia and it bottoms out at the turret, which is where those little turny caps are. Then you see you've got scope ring up on it and you've got scope ring up on the bell. That actually looks consistent with a ground strike to me.
Okay.
And that I looked at that and I'm like, oh, okay, fine. If you're explaining that he jumped off the freaking rooftop, I buy that as a story based on looking at this rifle. That's all plausible to me. It's not, there are minimal questions on that. And when I saw it, looked pretty clearly that he was swinging something, jacket, towel wrapped around a rifle. Like, none of those things like that. None of that makes me go like, oh, they must be lying. You know what I mean? Now, again, they might be lying. I'll just tell you, I don't know, because I can't tell from that crappy footage. But
I guess that's the point. Is that it doesn't definitively prove that there is a gun.
It doesn't. It also doesn't tell me that if they found a gun in the woods, like, my issue is how many people would we have to have that are lying to make something happen that was not him? That's where it gets really confronting. We're talking about a lot of people being involved, right?
Yeah, but dude, to suggest that a lot of people couldn't be involved in a thing would be to be negligent of history in and of itself.
It seems to me the more that you get people involved in a conspiracy, the more likely it is that someone's going to come out and talk. Or they have to die. Like,
one would presume. Yeah, but then how did they get away with the mysterious air virus stuff? Think about how many people around the world.
How many of us knew in real time that was garbage? I mean, a lot of us
pretty
did.
Much any rational person.
So what did they do though? See, this is the difference.
They got those people to shut up. They tried to get those people to shut up.
They took their money. They took their ability to communicate. They shut you down. They censored you. They deleted your accounts. Like, whatever. Like, that seemed like desperation in real time to me. I'm just saying that to potentially dismiss what could be a thing because potentially lots of people would need to be involved would be to not acknowledge history in and of itself. It's more of like an Occam's razor for me. Again, I don't care one way or another. If a bunch of people set this up, I'd like to know what the hell happened.
Right.
But again, the shitty footage is neither, it doesn't lean me one way or another. And it certainly doesn't debunk the narrative to me. And
it doesn't prove it. It doesn't prove it.
It doesn't prove it either. It has to come in the broader part. So 100%.
Yet all these paid Turning Point influencers that got paid, I would assume, or get paid as a result of Turning Point USA, that are incentivized in theory for Turning Point USA to look good. All of these people who were friends with Charlie, whatever, they all go to the courthouse and they come out and they say it was 4K HD perfect video footage and we saw it and it's open and shut case. And then other people that were in the courthouse said it wasn't. And
it wasn't for whatever it's worth. It wasn't. Right. It was the same footage that we've all seen. They were lying. Right.
So
your Jack Posos and whoever else was coming out.
So
liars.
why are you lying? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's like, why would you say
I don't know.
Exactly. That's the whole point.
So on the soft side of that, it's like people making a terrible calculus that I can lie to a low information slop consumer.
Yeah.
Since that's what they love anyway. And I'm going to do this like sort of PR win all the way up to they're in on it. Again, I keep seeing this is kind of... this is the spectrum that exists. It's like not the shitty actors doing dumb things up to they're in on it.
It's not to presume that they are in on it in the sense that it is like you can make a lot of people do a lot of things that it would be more beneficial for them to say them than not. Mm-hmm. So it's like Benny Johnson, let's just say, probably didn't know about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Benny Johnson is financially incentivized for Turning Point USA to succeed. He's financially incentivized for Tyler Robinson to be found guilty, for it to be an open and shut case. He's financially incentivized to say that the administration didn't do nothing. He's financially incentivized to say that the FBI does a great job. He's financially incentivized to say that anything that is downstream from Trump is good and above board. Okay. He's financially incentivized to do that. So he doesn't mean he's in on it, but it means that like his opinion cannot be trusted, generally speaking.
Oh, I think that's a fair assessment. And there's a lot of these people that clearly have something to gain. And like I said, I'm just telling you like what I see the left and right boundaries being. It goes from I'm a slot peddler who can't be trusted, right? And then and they lie all the way up to like I'm an evil nefarious agent for some sort of like dark whatever cabal of people doing evil shit. Yes. So I'm open to that being the spectrum. And I don't think we're being unfairly characterizing of people who are out there in the online space because there are people on both sides of that, right? I mean, on all ends of that spectrum.
For sure.
The people that look the most unhinged to me, that sort of like cut away from Occam's razor, that being the simplest explanation being the most likely, are the people that they're all in on it, because big conspiracies. This is okay. We'll go back to the analogy of it. This is why the Brian Cole Jr. story and why the pipe bomber case actually holds a lot more water to me. And it's because the number of people that had to be in on a conspiracy is like 4. It's so small. You have to have it be really tight. And most of those people are not public figures.
Yeah. I'm just
and
saying,
they haven't given statements to the media and gone out and said dumb shit like I saw his face in 4K and it ripped my heart out and I relived the assassination over again. It's like, you're a fucking shitty actor. You're a bad actor saying dumb things that benefit your brand of an emotional person, and you're reconnecting yourself to someone who died. How dare you? And that seems gross.
Yeah.
So I simultaneously see that I don't see a huge chunk in the narrative, but I 100% agree with you that these people are weirdos.
Yeah.
I definitely think they're weird and gross.
Right.
I'm on board with that.
But this is just what we've covered even thus far. But but again, to not keep going back to the Brian Cole story, but just for the sake of the discussion, it's like one could conclude that Kyle Seraphin is making content out of this. He's financially benefiting by talking about this case. How could he make so much about this thing? He also used to work in the FBI. Maybe he still works for the FBI. You know, it's like,
here's where that falls short, though. I
saying,
do one Brian Cole every 2 to 3, 4 weeks. Like I space them out, and whenever. And here's the other funny thing. Okay, so this is where I have a problem with that. People DM me. People send me text messages. People post about things that I'm posting about on social media, and I'll be like, it'll be something agreeing with some slop shit that you have. Like you'll be seeing some stupid thing like the golden age. And I'm like, yeah, we're just getting pissed on it, whatever. So I'll do that. And people are like, do more Brian Cole, do more pipe bomber stuff, less of this. You don't know what you're talking about. Dig into the other thing. It's like, you just want me to be the thing that you want. What most people want out of a podcast, if we're being totally fair, and most people want out of a lot of social media, is they want to hear their opinion coming out of somebody else's mouth.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
I mean, that's what people want. So if people want to question things and ask all these questions, they don't mind if it's just repeated to them ad nauseum, even if there's nothing new to report. I only report when there's something new to report, generally.
That's fine. And that's a volume thing.
Yeah.
So we're disconnecting on the volume.
It financially benefits me to talk about things that people are interested in, 100%.
But what I'm saying is like, if there was 50 hours of relevant information about that case, you would talk about it for 50 hours if it was relevant.
I would get bored, but some people would, and I think they would be I think it would be defensible to do so. Yes. I don't know that there's 50 hours of content about this.
Well, that's the thing. That's what I didn't think either until I started looking further, and I'm like, what? Like, what? How are there so many things? Like, this is so strange how there's so many millions of things.
But are they coming to conclusions where they or are they just you and me just talking about stuff like, I got all these questions and these things are all weird and no answers?
Some of them are saying that this is what I think it is. I don't know that it's that, which I think is totally rare, feasible, and rare. And I would say the most prominent voices, let's just use like Ian Carroll and Baron Coleman, for example. Sure. I don't think that they've ever suggested like this is this. They say this is what it looks like. I don't know. Here's what I see. You tell me what you think it is. Candace has been a little bit more saying like, this is what I think this is, which is fine. Candace has I think a lot more insider information, a lot of character information about the people on the inside that she potentially can't say. Where it's like imagine if you knew Turning Point people on the inside that maybe even still work there, and they said this weird shit happened right leading up to this, and this is the weird shit that happened after, but they still work there. It's like, can you say, Samantha told me this? No, you can't really say that, but you know it and you have it in there and you trust Samantha and you do the best that you can, and that helps you draw your conclusion. It's like, I know people at Turning Point. I was an ambassador. I have connections of people that were in there. And there's like a lot of weird things that I can't be like, Samantha or Jessica or whatever, she told me this thing. And this is because it's like, it's not evidence. I can't prove it, but it's like, this is very strange. Why did all these things happen? One of the things is like the financial improprieties at Turning Point, and the fact that Charlie Kirk wanted an investigation, a Doge-like investigation into the financials at Turning Point in the weeks leading up to his assassination, is just, again, another very peculiar thing. Did that analysis ever happen? Are the financial documents that a lot of people have done deep dives into? Why are there so many weird things about that? Why is there so much money being funneled around? So it's like, here's another group of people that financially benefit as a result of there being no Doge investigation, there being no Charlie Kirk, and everybody looking the other way. You're talking about people that seem to benefit millions and millions of dollars, that there so happens to coincide right at the very moment before he gets assassinated.
Okay, but here's where it gets weird for me then. I'll take all that, and I've read the same cursory, sort of analysis that there were financial issues. There was a claim that there was going to be an audit. I'm with you. So then you have to go from there was financial impropriety taking place in this large organization that had a ton of money coming in, a lot of donor money. So a lot of weird stuff happens with donor money. And there's a lot of rules about what needs to be followed. And people like to think of it as their own piggy bank.
Yep.
So you got a donor thing happening, potential audit, which could expose maybe criminal malfeasance on the financial end, right?
Yes.
And then you've got the Utah County Sheriff's Office and the prosecutors in Utah County to go along with setting up the wrong guy. That's where I start going, well, how do you connect those things? How would those be related?
I don't know.
How could they be related?
That is a fair and reasonable question. And I think that the point of our analysis is to say that should this not be mentioned because I don't know exactly what it means or how?
Well, if you were to follow that down the logical conclusion that somebody wanted to cover up, so there's only so many theories of the crime. It can't be that Israel wants him dead and people at Turning Point are stealing money and they want him dead and the wife wants to take over so she wants him dead. So you can't have like 10 theories of the crime. This is just not the way that things tend to work. For something that is as kinetic as an assassination, especially one in public that was really done in a very overt and public way. I mean, for example, if the Israelis want to get rid of you, they paid you and then you blow up. Right. I mean, they're as good as they want to be to the point where nobody necessarily knows about it unless they want to brag about it.
Yeah. But
is that fair?
Yes. But again, in the event that every timeline has to be walked hand in hand to its logical conclusion, in the event that that's the case, then there would not be that much to talk about. It wouldn't be an open investigation. If you and I were sitting around,
isn't, according to law enforcement. So this is the difference. And I don't know that people who are asking questions online are doing an investigation. And that may be, and I'm using that word really specifically because investigation means that you actually have access to evidence. And I think these people do not. But doesn't mean I'm mad at them for talking about it. I mean, people can talk about whatever the hell they want. I think that's cool. Knock yourself out. I just find it not interesting. It's never been compelling, which is why I don't listen to these podcasts. That's why I want to talk to you about it.
Fine.
I don't think you've changed my mind about whether I'm going to go listen to Barron or listen to. I like Ian. Generally speaking, Barron, when I've listened to him, he seems pretty straightforward. He seems like an intelligent guy. I don't like Candace because I just don't like the way that she presents. So it's just, it's like personal. What do I consume? But I'm not convinced that I need to go and answer questions because I'm not sure that I have them.
That's fine. And my objective in this has not been to convince you.
No, my objective was to hear what's out there, and I've been hearing some of it. And people in the chat are really mad at me, and they want to follow your new podcast that you're going to launch about this. So,
I can't see the chat, so people are like, fuck this guy.
yeah. So here, I'll put some of it on the screen. But at the end of the day, you and I, people are like, let him say what I think. Let him say the things that I want to talk about. Talk about paving over the crime scene. There's all this information. So people want to hear about all the things that you heard. Look, I've read all those things too, and none of them have made me go oh, all
right, well,
here I am.
Just because they don't make you go like that doesn't mean, okay, you said that it's not an investigation because we don't have access to the evidence. Okay, right. Well, then that's semantics. Call it whatever you want to call it. Looking into it. We're looking into it. All of us are looking into it. We're doing the thing that we do every single day. We're making an analysis based on the information and evidence that has been presented, and we're drawing a conclusion about what we think it means or what it could potentially mean or where we need to continue to look into it. My disposition is not that I know something. It's just here's what they gave us. Why is it weird? Another thing was the paving over of the crime scene within 2 days that was supposedly ordered by the FBI, as the guy that did the pavers basically said on a podcast. He said that's what happened. Yeah. The guy that was supposedly the lead investigator on the scene testified on the stand that he didn't know who ordered it to be paved over. He didn't even know it got paved over until it was reported in the media. So it's this is the lead investigator on the crime scene of the most important political assassination in modern history, and the guy doesn't even know that it gets. So it's just, again, it creates more questions.
The question is, does it need to be preserved? How long is the crime scene supposed to be held, and when does it not matter anymore?
I don't know, but it would seem to me like there would be more. It would seem to me like a rush cement job in 2 days. Seems a little strange. Why is that? Again, I don't know the answer.
I don't know that it's rushed or not, and I don't. So again,
that's
I don't
what
know.
The guy said. He said it was ordered by the FBI.
Yeah,
or
do we even know that was the guy who did it? Has that been confirmed?
That has, I don't know.
So one of the other problems is when you get these like high profile things, people come out of the woodwork to say weird shit. You know, like a guy stands up with his pants down and says, I was paid to shoot somebody, and he's like a known mentally ill, weird guy.
Yes.
And it's strange that he's there, and it's weird that somebody would come up and say that. I agree with you. It's so totally bizarre, and that should be run down. But that doesn't also mean that there's not just in a crowd of 2,000 people, there are 3 people that are deeply, deeply mentally ill, especially when you have a big public figure like that.
Yes, but that's not the point of the present day. What I'm trying to say is like, I think that we're talking past each other on this one topic, which is that I believe that this is an open investigation. Let's just call it that. You want to call it an open analysis, whatever you want to call it. Forget the word investigation. Let's call it an open talking about.
I think it's an open curiosity. Is that fair?
Fine.
That people
That's
are fascinated by something?
However you want to category. That's fine. Okay. An open curiosity. Okay. There's an open curiosity about this thing. Thinking out loud, analyzing, and combining a multitude of different details and trying to assemble them in a way that certain ways we can prove things that are still being proven, things that are coming together collectively, that the public is generally doing a crowdsourced investigation, a crowdsourced curiosity of. That is what we are at. Our position I don't think anybody's position is this is definitively this. I have more information. The only time that that's really going to become relevant is in the actual trial itself. And we all know and understand that. But to not talk about it and or be curious of it between now and then would be like, let's just sit on our hands and let it just be what it is. And in the event that it's like, well, we can't do anything about it, well, then why do we talk about anything? Why do we talk about what we're doing in Iran? We can't do anything about it. And if voting doesn't matter, why talk about politics ever? Because public discourse around a thing can have other implications that are not just that thing. One of those implications could be Benny Johnson, Jack Posobiec, or whomever is a bad actor. And you should probably not buy a ticket to an event that Benny Johnson's going to speak at. Maybe you shouldn't watch Benny Johnson's podcast. Maybe you shouldn't listen to Benny Johnson's tweets. Maybe you shouldn't listen to when Benny Johnson has insider political information. Maybe you shouldn't watch an interview between Benny Johnson and Mike Johnson or some other politician, because he is proven to be a person that will lie for his own benefit. He's the person that maybe we shouldn't pay attention to. Here he is lying about this. Here he is covering this up. That type of thing, that type of evidence against a person like Benny Johnson, not just him, is the type of thing that all of us are doing. So we're saying like if this person does something sketchy, we should talk about it and analyze it so it's on the record. So in the future, when they say something that directly contradicts the thing that they just said, that we know that this person cannot be trusted. And if he comes out of the courthouse and says something to you that I can't prove because I wasn't there, and he says, there's a 4K HD video that shows him taking the shot, and then another person says no, then in the event that he says that in the future about something, you won't say, oh, it's an open and shut case, I'm just going to trust him. We need to reduce the trust of these people that act in their own interest. And the combination of all these people collectively that see to both benefit from it, financially benefit, power benefit from it, to just analyze what they're doing and their actions and how they're reacting, to me, is part of the open curiosity of this. It's not that we know what they did or how they did it. It's just that these things are on the shelf that we're going to conclude that later when they produce all and present all this stuff in trial, we're going to say, wait, they didn't say that. What about this? Why did they lie about this? Why are all of these things there? Why is there so much there? If it was so obvious, one guy went on the roof, shot him. Why are there 1,000 anomalies? Why is that? I don't know yet. We don't know yet. We're trying to figure that out because we believe that in the event that Tyler Robinson is not a lone gunman guilty, open and shut case, that the multitude of people that this implicates is grand beyond measure. That's why we're talking about it. Because if it wasn't that, it would be of great consequence.
There's a lot there. I agree with everything you said about people that are operating in bad faith for their own and discrediting themselves. So I'm 100% on board with all that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know that we're going to get that out of this case when it's brought, because at the end of the day, it's a homicide case brought in a local court. So I don't know that. I don't know what we're going to get.
Yeah, I don't either. But I don't know. I don't either.
So the other thing is that this is uniquely fascinating to people because I think there's a lot of emotional commitment to Charlie Kirk as a person.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a lot of people that felt like this is the parasocial relationship that people had with him, that they watched his show, they went to his events, they supported his cause, they gave money to his organization, etc. Sure. They felt like it was a way that you could actually do something, because a lot of people wonder like, hey, what can we do? Can we do anything? And they killed the guy that was doing the something, theoretically. Yeah. Right? So yes. I get all this. There's a lot of emotional involved in that. But then the other question has to follow up. It's like, well, how many other murders have you deeply looked into to see what is and what is not normal in a murder case? How many murder prosecutions have you walked from the beginning to the end? How many murder cases have you seen all the strange, anomalous things that happened on a crime scene? And how aware are you to actually assess whether or not this is unusual or not? And
not aware.
What we're deeply, and I'm not talking about you specifically, that's what I want the listener to think about. How many murder cases have you followed deeply outside of a very entertainment-based true crime you watched on Netflix, like How to Make a Murderer, or whatever that show was?
Sure.
Which presented a very inaccurate view of what actually happened in the case, but it made for very compelling television because, interestingly enough, you can make a documentary that make you believe anything you want. Yeah. People can take very emotional music. They can take some B-roll footage. They can stitch things together. We saw this happen with Tom Massey. You can get people to believe that Tom Massey had a threesome with two well-known female Democrat congresswomen.
Yes.
And it looks compelling enough because it's like they opened a hotel door. What else would they be doing in that hotel together?
Yes.
People eat it up with the music. They're like, oh my God, he's a nefarious sleeper with two relatively attractive Democrat chicks.
Yes.
This terrible man. So we can do a lot of, and this is why I think this is fascinating to me as kind of like a meta-analysis. People are tuned in deeply to this thing and they have very strong emotional opinions. My chat is very active right now and they're very upset about whether or not I agree with you or don't agree with you. And at the end of the day, I don't feel strongly one way or another. I think that that there are questions for sure. And I don't think they're the same questions that the people that are asking the questions are asking. I want to know, because it seems very probable to me that this guy was the one who pulled the trigger, and this was an amateur-ass assassination, as far as I can tell. But I want to know why he got there. I think the note was weird. I think the text messages were stilted and strange. They look fake and gay. They don't look like they look like a boomer wrote them. So I've seen all the funny sort of like, TikTok and Instagram reels that make fun of how ridiculous this trot out was if it was a setup and what it looks like. I want to know who was in the Discord chat and who knew what, when, and how they knew it. I think Bongino's original questions were actually really valid. Like, Who knew what was happening? Who was egging him on? Were those people foreign agents? Because that's a possibility. Were they bots run by a foreign bot network? Were they domestic people? So there's a lot of questions that I have about what set this thing into motion. But do I think that somebody acting strangely and running and grabbing SD cards, people do really bizarre stuff when bad things happen around them all the time. And they're completely illogical. Like they go and they grab the car seat, but they forget to grab the infant out of a car crash. And you're like, what are you doing? Like, why did you grab your backpack, but you left your phone in your wallet? Like you didn't bring your insulin, but you made sure to grab this other thing that doesn't matter, like your kid's Pokemon cards. People do weird stuff all the time. So
yes, but it's nobody's contention that's, like, I'm not disagreeing with you on that. Yeah. I'm not saying
I don't think you are, for whatever it's worth.
And I'm also saying, and what I also think is important is to not negate somebody's interest in the case based on their history of following crime cases. If that's the case, then like none of us should be investigating.
No, what it gives you is perspective. That's what I'm making. That's the argument. Your perspective is like, I agree, narrow. So you don't have a lot of background.
I agree with that. But what I'm saying is that I do think it's important to not discourage discussion or discourage people talking about something like because of that reason.
Oh, I never would. And look, I'm happy for people to stay and talk about whatever the hell. I mean, there are whole podcasts that are dedicated to things that make no sense to me whatsoever.
Yeah.
My wife watches some of them and I'm like, I don't know how you could watch an entire series of things on fermented foods. It doesn't even, like, I don't even want fermented foods. So why is there a podcast that someone is talking about fermenting all these different things? It's gross. It smells bad, but she's into it. So we all have different tastes. I don't think that's the issue. My concern is that there's going to be some people that are very, very animated because they've been led to believe some things or they've come to their own conclusions. And they're not going to be delivered that in what happens in a court of justice, which may or may not be justice. Again, I'm with you. Like, I don't think our system, it has many flaws. There's a ton of them.
Okay. But to make it to get it short and succinct, what do you think, if someone like me, and don't even mean me, if somebody is interested in this and they see all these weird things and they see all this stuff and then maybe they're talking about it, would you rather that they didn't do that?
No, I don't feel one way or another. Like I'm completely. Right.
So then what we're doing is fine.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't say otherwise. That's why I wanted to have you on. Okay, and I'm going to have Clint on because I'm fascinated that people are so invested in it. I'm more interested in what the lure is more than
lure? What do you mean the lure?
Well, the lure is that you said you feel strongly about there was a political figure and he's no longer with us, and these things happened, and there's a possibility that some injustice is going on, or that maybe the investigation is being not given the appropriate attention that it should, and that these questions should all be brought up. And I'm like, okay, interesting. That doesn't appeal to me, but that's not what I go look for when I'm looking for what are some fast facts, what happened here, and what can I do about it? And do I have any say in it? I don't have any say in this investigation. I don't have any ability to get access to the evidence and do my own sort of looking into it. And I don't think that a lot of people are either. But if that's what and it is entertaining, right? Would you agree this is entertaining as well for people?
I don't know
it's intellectually stimulating. There's a thing going on there. There's a hook, and the hook is I'm trying to discern what's true. But
I believe that the statement of that is to basically be like, we're watching a show and we're
what I do is entertaining. Like, look, what Alex Jones does is entertaining. So, like, fine. I'm not knocking entertainment. We all look for entertainment. I go watch shitty movies, and I'm like, I'm watching Back to the Future because it's entertaining.
Is online information analysis entertainment? If it all is, then yes, it's entertaining.
Yeah, I think it all is.
Okay, fine. Then it is. But
which is why you and I are sarcastic when we present things, because otherwise we would just be saying these people do awful things. It's all lost. Like our life is dismal.
I'm just saying this is really freaking important. Like, this guy is a consequential guy, and we don't know what happened, but the shit that they're giving us is fucking slop, and doesn't make sense, and a lot of it is mad weird, and their actions are mad weird, and their lies are stacking up in a way that is unexplainable, and there's lots of behind-the-scenes intel that people that knew Turning Point or were Turning Point adjacent, perhaps like myself, heard weird things that were happening in and up to, leading up to, and after this event. And what is that? And it's like, yeah, I don't know, but I don't know. I don't have the gun. I don't have the autopsy. We're all waiting for that information. But to not analyze and or talk about and or discuss and or try to figure out what this is between now and then is to just sit on our hands and say, well, the adults are in charge. The experts got it. And it's like, that to me is very troubling. And then what also I find to be very weird about all of that stacked on top of it all is how many people have this visceral, angry reaction. You're a demon for looking into this. You're a demonic entity for even trying to figure out what happened to Charlie Kirk. And it's like, why are these people all cheering in unison? And why do all of those people seem to have the same predetermined set of values, for the most part, about about how they want this story to be buttoned up and open and shut? It's like, who are the people that want it open and shut? Who are the people that hate Candace Owens? It's like, people don't hate Candace Owens for the most part because she's talking about the Charlie Kirk investigation, or Tyler Robinson investigation. They hate Candace Owens because the things that she said about their favorite country. They don't hate her because they hate Ian Carroll because he talks about their favorite country. They maybe hate him because of this case, but they really hate him for that. And then so it's like all of these people, they're lumping it all together, where it's just like people hate them for those reasons, and then they all pile on. And it's like, how any person could care about justice for Charlie Kirk but say that wanting to understand the truth of this is somehow evil, I don't get. If you want to say that criticizing Erica is evil, fine, you can say that. But
I don't think that's true either. That doesn't.
Right,
I mean, she's weird.
Sure, but she's a public figure. She put herself in this position.
Sure.
She's putting information out. She's lying about things that are provable lies. Candace, on the other hand, she knows things on the inside that all of us don't know. She has a personal relationship that a lot of us don't have. It's hard for us to understand how we would behave or what we would say if we had insider intel about a person that was married to one of our close friends that happened to be assassinated that you think is acting in malintent. So it's like, Candace is more of an emotional because she's connected to it. But Baron Coleman, as far as I can see, he seems to be objectively pointing out things that are worth analysis. I don't know that he's drawing a conclusion.
That's the question. Is he laying out a theory of the crime? Because this is the way that investigations end up going, is that you end up with a theory of the crime. Like, this is what got done. First of all, you have to agree what the crime is, and you have to agree with the mechanism by which it was accomplished. And then at some point you have to say, okay, we believe it was done for these reasons, and this is the evidence that does. And you can have alternate theories of crimes, right? So that's what defense always wants to try to. If they can introduce an alternate theory, they're going to do this in Brian Cole's case. They're going to say, we don't think our guy did it because we think this person actually did it. Alternate theory of crime. Great. But are people out there suggesting, not online random bot accounts that jump in and tell me like they're really emotional that I don't care about what they care about? And by the way, I don't care about what a lot of us, like you do, and I don't care about the same things. Even though I think that you're a really interesting guy, there are things that really get you riled up 100%, and they don't bother you at all. And there are things that get me really hot, and you'd be like, that seems really pedantic. Like, why do you care?
For sure.
Yeah. And my stuff is going to be, gun stuff, and your stuff is going to be, maybe more tech things that I don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, this is the nature of the world. I made this claim the other day, and I'll keep saying it. There is nobody on the earth that agrees with everything that you think, to include yourself over time.
Yeah.
Like, if you've ever changed your mind, you don't agree with you. So,
sure.
So I don't care if people want to get deep in the weeds on things that don't make people watch the Call Her Daddy podcast, right? Is that what it's called? You know what I'm talking about?
The dick sucking podcast.
I don't know what it is. I don't know what the lure is, and I'm not mad at people for watching it, but I just go like, not for me. Candace Owens equals not for me, because I just don't think Candace Owens is very interesting. I've already said that, but that doesn't mean that I think people are bad for listening to Candace Owens, or that people shouldn't listen to her. Like, I don't give a shit one way or another.
Right.
I don't know why people listen to Jesse Waters on Fox. It's completely beyond me why anybody would turn into Sean Hannity and listen to that chubby bastard say whatever he says, but they do, and the people love it. They freaking love this. Like, Hannity said this. How dare you? It's like, okay,
right. Well,
yeah, knock yourself out, bro. Like, have at.
Right,
but not for me.
That's fine. Yeah.
I agree with you on the thing about Benny Johnson. It's like, okay, well, here's these people that have exposed themselves to say, I will take whatever it is that benefits me to say these things, to come out and say things that look obviously ridiculous. And so you should be discredited. So there is a value in this. Some people are bringing themselves out to be maybe dishonest actors. Or
I watch Benny Johnson lie about shit every day and financially benefit to the millions of dollars as a result of it. And Jack Posobiec and all these other people that are in there all do the same thing, and they all get paid. And Graham Allen, who was a literal Fed, is coming on here and be like, you're an evil demon for talking about this. And it's like, you scumbags. It's like, these guys go out there and say everybody's doing it for clicks. Bro, your life is clicks. Benny Johnson's income stream is clicks. That's his whole life. He says people are doing this for clicks. Graham Allen does the same thing. His whole life is clicks. He accuses people of doing this for clicks. So I'm sick of these weasels that have provable, lying 5'7" weasels, calling everybody demons and saying that and acting
hey man,
like,
go easy on the hype. What's going on there?
Well, whatever. And acting like Jesus Christ and God himself ordained their position. Oh, we need to everybody go out and pray. Hey, fuck you, bud. Fuck you. Tell me to pray. Fuck you. You lie all the time. You sell out your country all the time. You make millions of dollars being an insider serpent, and you're going to tell me to go pray? Fuck you. Like, who are you to tell me to do anything? Maybe I do pay, maybe I don't, but that's none of your business. Don't use the shield of religion to pretend like you have the fucking moral high ground on this thing when you've been proven to lie 1,000 times in a row, and pretend like us looking into the consequential assassination of a person that is of a tremendous importance to many of us, it makes us evil. And don't lump us in with the multitude of other nefarious actors on the fringe that say that they know definitively that it was this, or it was a mic, or it was whatever else, when we're just trying to understand. And to associate us as demonic or anti-Semitic or any other thing because of that is sickening to me. And these people telling us go pray when they're the least religious, the least godly people imaginable. You cheat on your wife. You've been proven to cheat on your wife 1,000 times. You're going to tell me to go pray? Fuck you. I hate these people.
I was on board with that whole rant. I'm on board with all that. So that all resonates.
Yeah,
Again,
Charlie Kirk is of great importance. I went to his events and I'm like, this dude is the man. This dude is doing something very unique, very great, very important, very historically accurate. He's needed in the world, and they killed him. And there's a lot of people that are in and around that sought to benefit. Whether they were connected or not is inconclusive at this juncture. We don't know what's going to come out in the case, and we're all waiting for that. But to not analyze the information that's out and then have these grandstanders like Jack Posobiec and Benny Johnson and Graham Allen try to tell us that we're evil for looking into this thing that is of great importance because the people that lie 1,000 times in a row, say that it's not that. It's like, fuck you. I'm going to look into this and I'm going to talk about it, and that doesn't make me evil. I don't care how many people say that it is.
Yeah, I'm behind all that. Okay, so
well,
this is the thing, because this is this is why, like I said, I'm emotionally pretty uninterested. I understand that people are interested, but the thing that I do agree with you on is hypocrisy. It's the hypocrisy bit, because when I see people do the same thing, I listen to Candace Owens and I go, not for me, not interested. I hear Jack Poso come outside of a courtroom and say something that I know is false because I watched CanCon go through an analysis and show what the video was and show that he's lying, and I go, yeah, gross. That's equally, like, that might be more gross because it's the same gross to me. To me, I look at people and saying, I'm going to be telling other people how to think, the minute you do that, you've lost me. Like, I'm just
That's what they're doing.
I know, and I agree with you. And like when people say you're a demon for saying this, it's like, bro, can we just be honest? The woman, the clip I played you of a woman saying like we're not cringy while you're doing the cringiest thing in the world, where every single time, because I still follow Charlie Kirk's social media accounts. When I see a live broadcast of Charlie Kirk 111 or whatever the heck it is that pops up on X and it's live streaming something, I go like, for a second I go like, weird. It's weird as shit to see that you are running social media accounts because you can actually change the name. You could call it Charlie Kirk's Legacy and have it be something that acknowledges the fact that the guy is killed. To go out there and say, keep the name the same is weird to me. And it's also very gross because it's the hypocrisy. They're doing the same thing, monetizing the death of this guy as the people that are getting criticized for it. So I don't, if one is demonic, then they're both demonic. I don't think either are demonic. I just think they're both like not for me.
Yes.
So anyway, I'm on board with your rant about hypocrisy. How dare they tell you what you can or can't be interested in? Agreed. Admit.
Yeah, and they're also
it's just also neither of those are for me because it's just.
But they're also making money criticizing them for making money.
Yeah, of course.
Like,
no, I agree.
So it's like we're throwing the same accusation back and forth. It's a non thing.
I watched Ben Shapiro do the same thing where he went out there and he was like, oh, you think it's all about me and I had breakfast with this person? Well, I didn't have breakfast with this person, so find somebody else. It's like, stop injecting yourself into a story.
Then he's like, buy Relaxium Sleep, buy Boll and Branch sheets. It's like, brother, they fucking do the same shit.
No, my thing is that they want to sell you a freaking gold IRA where you're gonna pay 3 times as much for the gold as you should.
He's like, I'm tired of this story about Charlie Kirk's assassination. Are you tired? You should get Boll and Branch. Like, it's like you fucking weasel.
It's a great segue. It is nasty. And for anybody who wants to tell you what you can or can't watch, like that grosses me out. I've never, and I never will. I'll never tell you that I'll tell you what I think about people, like you just did. I'm down with that. Like I think those people are nasty. I think watching Sean Hannity probably means that your IQ is lower than you think it is. Whatever you think it is, you're watching sloppy garbage. But I'm not going to not engage with you, or I'm not going to think that you're a bad person because you watch him. I just think it's funny that you find that compelling. It says things to me about what I think about the rest of what you say.
Yeah.
But I don't think you should stop. And I wouldn't tell you like, how dare you watch these people? You're doing something evil. I was like, I think you're doing something dumb. There's a big difference between evil and dumb.
Right. Yes.
That was always the argument between left and right, by the way.
But it's like, why? But the point is like, why are they lying? Like, why are you lying?
I just assume that's what they do, though, Bobby. Like, that's kind of where I live. I just assume that they just lie.
Well, let's put it on the shelf of reasons why they are not to be taken seriously.
Yeah,
and
they're already not serious to me.
Fine.
So for people that are seeing them and going, okay, now we're discrediting the people that I get upset with.
About how we're bad because it's like, oh, the guy that lies 800,000 times in a row lies about this thing, but I'm bad for looking at it because Charlie or God or something. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, no, it's all
it's
garbage.
The widow and God says don't. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Right, the widow who's a public figure that does weird stuff, objectively weird things.
Yeah, very peculiar. And again, it's like in like a lot.
How many husbands went out there to their wives when they saw like the coffin video, for example? So I look at these.
Bro, what is that?
Okay, so we'll go there in just a second here. But I think a lot of people have looked at the anomalies in these moments, and they're like, these are all related. Like you've pointed out a bunch of things that you would call weird, and some things that you think are inconclusive, or like discrepancies in the story, and you haven't said it. But I think a lot of people do link them and say I think you're saying individually these are all weird things, and the totality of a bunch of weird things means I have more questions. Is that a fair assessment?
I don't want
to put words in your mouth.
I don't think it's the totality of things that mean I have more questions. I think that I have lots of questions based on the individual things.
Individually, here's a bunch of things, and I have questions, and here's a bunch of individual things.
Yeah, and when I look at it from a 10,000 foot view, I'm like, why are there so many things? Like, I just don't understand why there's so many things. It's like, why does Jack Posobiec need to come out and say there's 4K HD? Why does Benny Johnson have to do that if there wasn't that? Why do you have to lie? If it's so obvious, why lie? Why are you lying? I don't understand that. And it's like when you lie, and then there's 1,000 other weird lies and things that don't make sense that are TBD, to be proven, to be determined, like Brian Harple cutting off the shirt and then trauma nurses being like, that would never happen. Why is that? Why did Frank Turek say that he gave him CPR and Brian Harple said that he didn't do CPR? Like, why did they say that Tyler Robinson changed his clothes and then it didn't look like he changed his clothes? Why is there photos of him at Dairy Queen when there's an international manhunt out for him? Why is there supposedly a receipt of him at a restaurant 3 hours away while he's texting that he's up at the campus? Like, why are those things? I don't know. I don't know what it means, but individually, all of them deserve to be answered. And then why, at the end of it all, why did Joe Kent try to look into foreign involvement in this and get rejected from it by Kash Patel? Why did that happen?
So that to me is the bigger thing than all of them,
Sure.
because it has broader implications.
Fine. And so that's what I'm trying to say is I don't know what each one means.
There's a pretty, and just like when people go, well, here's all these questions, right? I think a lot of them are going to have unique and individually siloed answers that it's like, oh, that guy's just an incompetent guy and he doesn't know how to handle a firearm. And that guy just happens to be this. But in the case of Kash Patel, we can see a pattern of he's desperate to try to do PR wins. He's desperate to try to hold on to territory that he controls. So he's a very territorial government bureaucrat. And anything that would say that I needed help from an outside agency somehow limits him in his ability to project to Donald Trump that he's the savior of whatever Donald Trump is trying to do. So you end up with not an investigation, not a evaluation of something. And there's a lot of people in the FBI that look at them and say that they cannot be trusted with certain things investigation wise, which is where Joe Kent, Odie and I, the Directors Initiative group, which came under Tulsi Gabbard, was trying to look into. They weren't bringing questions that they had to the FBI because the FBI is looked at as a compromised agency. So for me, what I think is very important, and I think it's very hard for most people to do, and it sounds like you're doing it, but that doesn't sound like most people are when I see what the anger and the emotion is. You can have a bunch of questions. Those questions, generally speaking, are probably not connected to other questions. They're just ongoing questions. I think that's totally fair.
Yeah.
The dangerous people, and these are going to be the people that will not accept any outcome that doesn't meet whatever they've already decided has happened, is going to be the people that say, I had all these questions. I have a unifying theory of all of them for whatever that is. And then if you don't give me a story that fits my unifying theory, then I think that you're lying to me. And they go off further down the road of whatever I believe is true. And they end up on the flat earth page, as opposed to there could be it could be totally plausible, and maybe is the most plausible. I think Clint Russell, and I think you may have said this privately, that it may be the most probable that Tyler Robinson is the shooter. And also some other stuff was going on as well.
Yeah.
And the other stuff is not being given enough attention, and it's not being looked into, and we know that it was shut down. For me, that's the biggest concern. I think that there's probably plenty of evidence that he was the guy who was the shooter. And I think they're going to end up being able to prove it. I think if they can prove it, they're going to be able to prove it, and it won't be that hard because it actually wasn't a masterfully executed plan. But
I'll be the first person to acknowledge that.
The question would be,
true.
Why did he do that? How did he get radicalized or motivated to go from being a kid who's like working a job to being the guy who lays on a rooftop and pulls a trigger, having never done that in his life? Because that's a pretty wild jump. Mm-hmm. How did he make those decisions? Why did people seem like they knew about it beforehand on social media? What sort of things were going on in these chat servers? Who was running the accounts on the other side? Because just because you are operating the account that says Bobby Sauce and I'm running the one that says @Kyle Seraphin, or you're running Take Naps, you're running those accounts, and we're pretty transparent. There's a lot of people who are quote unquote verified, and they might be a 270-pound black guy pretending to be a skinny white mom who's on trial for saying the N-word, right? Because we just saw that.
Yes, we did. And
so you can be another person, and you can also be a botnet that's being run by a foreign government, by a domestic corporation that has some, interest in something. There's a lot of things that can happen on the internet where people start taking real action based on a calculated series of curated nonsense coming their way online. Like, there are people who think that they have real friends, and those friends are actually Chinese AI bots that are teaching them something to do something dangerous. That's a real thing happening right now.
Yes, I agree with you. But like, what's the, no offense, but like, what's the point of that?
What's the point of what? Knowing that happens?
Yeah,
I'd like to know why he did and what the background was there. That's what I think needs to be run the ground. I'd like to know what that is. But I also don't think that I'm in a position of sussing it out.
Okay. Well, yeah.
I don't have access to it. I don't have access to the Discord servers. I don't have access to the forensic background.
Neither do I.
Neither you or I are going to be able to go do that. And what I think is most concerning, which you just highlighted, is that this thing was being questioned at the moment that it happened. Like, how did this guy get this way if he's the guy who did the shooting?
Yeah.
And the guy who was going to try to run that down had to leave the government over something that has other people really riled up, which is that he has a very specific position about Israel, and that apparently is at odds with where this administration is going to, take their advice.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that there's a lot of converging things that simultaneously converge at this very convenient moment where this guy is taken out. That random guy deciding to do it after never talking to his boyfriend about Charlie Kirk ever once.
Mm-hmm.
Seems perfectly
just to be fair, that means you presume that guy is telling the truth.
Well,
and I assume that he's not.
They're presuming that he's telling the truth as the most crucial series of evidence against him, though. So it's like, is he telling the truth or is he not? Because he has an alibi that he was sleeping at his house all day. His DNA is on the stuff, including the weapon. And they said that Tyler Robinson's DNA was the most deteriorated DNA, but Lance Twiggs' DNA is there. They gave him immunity for the things that he testified against. So they're believing him to be, he's the only person that positively identified Tyler Robinson on the footage, and he didn't even really do that. So it's like,
it'll be interesting when he gets a chance to be examined and cross-examined for me.
Yeah.
Because
I agree. But
to assume that a love interest is not going to have some mitigating factors in what they have to say, I think that's I don't know anybody that would take them at their word.
Right, but what I'm saying is like, okay, so it's like, is he with Tyler Robinson or not? He takes a picture of the evidence. He takes a picture of the crucial piece of evidence.
A bunch of weird dumb shit. Like,
and then it burns, and then it seriously burns. And then he also says that Tyler Robinson admitted the guilt to him. He's like, Tyler Robinson, he said, I asked. He said, Lance Twiggs said the next day when he woke up, after this dude literally just assassinated this guy on television and said, I did it. He said the next day when they woke up, he said, they go, did you talk to him about it? And he's like, I just asked him if what he texted me was true. And he said, yeah, I regret it. And that's it. Your boyfriend just assassinated a political figure and is going to go to jail for the rest of his life, probably. And he's there. And he admitted it to you in a note and via text. And you talk about it just to say, was it true? Yeah, it was. I wish I didn't do it. Okay. And then he goes around and sweeps the house. He does chores. That's what he said.
For me, that has the same ring as people that told me that they never understood what their dad did in the military. That I assume my dad did some things that were really scary and bad. And he always seemed like really tight-lipped about it. And I never asked him any further. And it's like, what? You never asked your dad about what he did? So there are analogies of where people have done things that are like, you and I would be like, dude, tell me more. Like, what on earth is going on there? And then you hear other people and they're like, yeah, we just didn't have that kind of relationship where I talked about. I have no idea what their relationship was like. So anyway, that is a photo
is a photo of the no. It's like, why did you take a photo of the no? I don't just
that doesn't lead me to anything one way or another. I have no idea what was going on there, but I do agree with you that it does seem like they're presenting him in two different lights. One of them is that he might be defending and the things he's saying are benefiting, but the stuff that he initially said was that it was really damning. So it'll be interesting to see when he's actually questioned and cross-examined. This is going to be where it's going to be fun to see.
I think he appears to be on the side of testifying with the prosecution. He doesn't seem like
he's a prosecution's witness. I think that'll be the case. Yeah,
right.
So it'll be interesting what happens.
So if that's the case, then like, why would he be like, yeah, we didn't talk about it? It's like, I don't know.
People, their opinions about what's happening, things sink in on them. People say stuff all the time and then they recant. People say things and then realize that they blew it. It happens. It's a regular thing. In any case, go ahead.
And
give me some final thoughts here. Sum it up here in a way. Well, we could probably do this for like 10 hours, you and I, and we probably should be doing this over like multiple cups of coffee.
But isn't that the point? Like, where it's like, if it was so obvious, then like we wouldn't have 10 hours of stuff to talk about. If it was obvious, which I wish that it was, if it was obvious, I wouldn't wake up.
You and I are discussing something that I have not been interested in, and you are. I think it'd be very hard for you to tell me that every day you have 3 hours of new things to share.
I didn't say that.
Not you, obviously, right? But there are people that are sharing on a daily basis.
Yeah, but a daily basis since the preliminary hearing. And a lot of the things, like, for example, like what Baron Coleman talked about in the episode that he did last night was like, one of the things that he talked about was like, why did Erica Kirk not post anything on X for multiple years? And then 5 days before his death, randomly start posting on X out of nowhere? Why did she not post anything on TikTok for multiple years and then randomly start reposting videos about them the day before? Why did she post these weird cryptic Bible verses about not falling into evil or whatever else, like the day that he was assassinated, an hour and a half before, when she hadn't posted for multiple years? I don't know. We don't know. The point is not to know. The point is, it's just like, this is a thing that's there. It's not to draw the conclusion. It's just like, this is a thing that's there. He looked at closer analysis of the video of him jumping off the roof, and it's like, does that look like a gun? I don't know. To me, it looks like a jacket. It looks like it could be a towel. I don't know. Like, why? It's not that he's finding new stuff. It's just like he's re-examining and examining the things that have been presented, and the behaviors of Turning Point USA, of Erica specifically, of Andrew Colvett, of the commentators. So it's like, in the event that there's nothing there to talk about, let's say 3 weeks from now, when it's August 15th, yeah, I don't know that every episode will be about it. When the trial starts up in September or whatever.
Yeah, obviously will be again.
So it's like, this is just a thing.
I guess my question is
now.
how many 3-hour or 1 hour daily shows can you do before you have a theory of the crime?
I don't know. I
have a really good theory of the crime, what happened in January, on January 5th, 2021. I mean, I have a strong theory of what it is, and I haven't spent nearly that much time on it because I understand what the facts say, what they have to lead to, and the sort of the inevitable conclusions you would come from the quote unquote questions that we're asking. At some point, you're like, okay, these questions have led me to this thing. If the questions are, everything is suspect and weird, and all these people are acting in ways that are, then it's just like, well, then all these people are just acting like people interested in their own thing. So either some of them are aligned that connect into a unified theory, or it's just, I just don't believe anything anymore because all this stuff is, crazy, and people posted Bible verses. Like, what would that have to do with anything? Like,
no, nobody's contention is that it does. It's just irregular. Yeah, again, if this is an open investigation, if it's an open curiosity, whatever we said before, if it is that, then to collectively present pathways of zero significance to great significance is part of the open conversation. Again, you have to think of it, in my opinion, you have to think of it as like myself, you, and 15 other people are sitting around a room in a detective's office and we're talking about the case. Just because I say, hey, she posted this weird stuff on this day, it's like, what does that mean? It's like, I don't know. This is a thing that happened. I don't know.
But two things happen when those questions get asked in those rooms where people are trying to work through an investigation. They decide on follow-up actions to be able to investigate.
Yep.
And then they have to rule it either in or out as whether it's relevant to what you're dealing with. So you have to come to a conclusion that this actually means something, even if it means something in this theory of the case, or it doesn't, and it's just a thing that happened. And so the endless, this is what I think is kind of, like I said, it's a phenomenon that I'm observing from the outside as someone who just goes like, I don't care how people spend their time. There are people who spend all their time building model airplanes, and I'm not one of them. But it looks cool when they're flying them, so it's like, okay, cool, man, have at it. I would be interested in that for about 10 minutes. I'd be like, okay, cool, thanks for sharing this like very cool workshop you have. Not for me. Yeah. If you told me that you wanted to load munitions and you wanted to have precision rifle, and you're like, oh, this is how I use the progressive press, and this is like how much I weigh it out, and here's how I do the testing, and here's the speed. I'm fascinated by that. I'll spend hours with you. Like, we all have our things that we're interested in. The fact that people are looking at all these questions, and they're fine to have these questions, and they're not saying, okay, these questions are in this chain of this theory, and this is what it would do, and this is how we would be able to either assess or not assess, or as you do in a lawsuit where you say, I admit this happened, I deny this happened, or I don't have sufficient evidence to say one way or another. If there are too many things where you don't have sufficient evidence and you're not in a position to be able to evaluate, why did Erica Kirk start posting on social media, which you just brought up? And if the answer is, I have no idea why she started doing that, I just want to know, but I don't have an ability to ask her, and I don't have the ability to find out the truth, then how is it? Then you're just a person who's just wandering. I mean, like, that just feels like a circle jerk to me. It just feels like people that are never going to get anything. They're just talking about stuff they don't know, which reminds me of being in college and talking to people who are stoned.
But again, you're dismissing it. You're dismissing it without taking into consideration the timeline, in my opinion. So
no, I'm just saying I don't know what the end result is. So I'm kind of a kinetic action. I want to know you're going to do this action to get to this thing. And
I don't either, but that's not the point. The point is if you and I are sitting around the table in the investigation room and I present an idea, we don't necessarily need to rule it out or draw it to its natural conclusion and determine whether or not it's going to be inserted into the case right now.
But at some point we have to, right?
At some point we have to, yes,
Yeah.
but we haven't had the trial yet. So the point is right now, if this is an investigation, which is what I believe that it is, the open crowdsourced investigation of everyday citizens with no privy access, that's what I think this is. We are throwing things onto the chalkboard of limited or no importance at all and saying this is here as we continue to conclude about this case. When the actual case comes to the courthouse, we can look at those things as part of the case file. We didn't draw them to their natural conclusion and to determine whether or not to insert them or not. We're just putting them on the shelf of consideration mentally to lead us down some decision or another. It's just we're building the case file. It's not about determining its importance.
So I guess okay. So that's where that's our disconnect there. I mean, that's our disconnect.
Yes, that is our disconnect.
Our disconnect is that you think that putting all this stuff together does something, and then you're still gonna have to eventually go back to the people that actually have the evidence to see what they make the argument of. So this is just
it doesn't do anything. It's meaningless.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it does anything. I think it's entertaining for people. I'm not mad about anyone doing it. I don't want anyone to stop if they want to do it. I don't care either way.
You're suggesting that it's you saying it's meaningless.
Well, I think a lot of things are meaningless, and people do them anyway. I think people ferment beverages, and I ferment. Like my wife is fermenting some cabbage downstairs.
So then you're using the word meaningless for you don't care about it.
Yeah, and also it doesn't seem like it's also not going to do anything for me at the end. Like,
but that's you. That's
there's
you.
There's a really good chance my wife throws that cabbage out.
Could you acknowledge? Would you be willing to acknowledge that this would be meaningful to someone, to lots of people?
Here's how I would assess whether it was meaningful or not. If information that is being crowdsourced in this open-ended kind of like freewheeling investigative activity that's taking place on podcasts, social media, etc., if these theories, if this information is translated into a defense strategy that is used to either prove, disprove, discredit information that is being presented by the other side, then it'll actually have some sort of relevance. But that didn't happen in the preliminary trial. There was literally nothing presented that has been theorized, explored, questioned. None of this stuff has actually gone into the actual courtroom where this is being determined. And so I don't know what the outcome is.
That's not the only thing that's up for consideration here. Just Tyler Robinson's guilt is not the only thing that this case is about.
You made the argument also that it's discrediting people that are acting like fools.
Yes.
I think that's true. But I don't think that's the primary thing that people are getting out of it, even if you and I do.
Maybe it's not, but I'm just saying, like, in the event that Turning Point USA covered up and or was involved and or lied about X, Y, and Z, and they employ people like Benny Johnson and Jack Posobiec and whomever else that lies about X, Y, and Z, and it comes out that they have a bunch of weird financial improprieties, like there's people on the take, like Andrew Colvett,
just so we're tracking though, that was like 4 ifs in a row though. So like we're down a pretty long stream of logical train.
Okay. Well, no, they're not. It's not if then. It's not. They're not all following each other. They're all equal important points. It's not like if one link in the chain breaks that the last one's not true. These are all individuals. Is there financial impropriety with Tyler Boyer? Point 1. Is there financial impropriety with Andrew Colvett? Point 2. Is Andrew Colvett willing to lie about a thing for the purpose of PR? All of these things are just questions in the jar. So it's like in the event that that's the case.
Yeah, but what do those have to do with the guy being killed? I'm
getting to the point.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying that it's not all just about the guy being killed. It's also about the trustworthiness of the Turning Point organization. If I go to a Turning Point USA event, I buy a ticket to go to that event. If let's say I don't, let's say I'm an ambassador, let's say they invite me again, which they probably won't now, but whatever.
Probably not.
I had a good relationship with lots of them and whatever. They don't invite me. I don't care, whatever. Fine. But in the event that you go to a Turning Point event, which I've gone to many, well, you pay money to go to that event. So you're supporting that organization. A lot of people donate to that organization. If that organization is misappropriating funds and paying people to lie, then that's probably not good. Then we should probably not go there. We should probably not support their content. We should probably not buy a ticket to their event. We should probably not watch their shows. We should probably not buy the books or pay for the speeches or pay for the tickets to go to the speeches of the people that are associated with it. It's beyond just Tyler Robinson's guilt. It's about justice for Charlie Kirk. It's about what's happening at Turning Point. And I think that the more that you peel back the onion, the more there's things that stink. And we don't know where they go. We don't know what the conclusion is. This case is just one thing that will come to a logical conclusion. The rest of the turning point analysis is being lumped in totality. So it's like Erica Kirk's weird behavior is not necessarily indicative if she was in on the murder of her husband, but it's like, well, wait, why is this? Why is she here? What is it connected to this? We don't know. All of these things are TBD. We don't know yet, but it's about more than just Tyler Robinson's guilt presently. It's about, is Turning Point USA a good organization? Is Kash Patel an honest actor? Is Joe Kent telling the truth? Is the FBI willing to cover something up? Are his best friends willing to look the other way? Are the pastors that are associated with their faith organization, are they sketchy? There's a lot of different things that are on the table at once.
Yeah, I think I maybe I'm wrong, but aren't the people that are asking those questions, haven't they already kind of come to a conclusion? I mean, I
maybe,
can answer,
maybe not.
I can answer almost all those questions off the top of my head, and then I just moved on.
But the point is that the point is that discussion about said things and gathering of intel and airing of opinions about said thing is what Charlie Kirk's whole life was about. Asking questions and talking about it. That's what we're doing. We're not drawing a conclusion. Some people are, some people aren't. Some of us are unknown. But like the way that I look at it, I'm like, I need more evidence, but this is weird. So that's where I sit. If you were to look at this,
I mean, I granted, I wasn't the biggest Charlie Kirk watcher, but the things that he used to make the argument of is that he thought there was an objective, yes, this is right, and this is not, and anything that is shading gray on that is probably not. So he found middle ground with people on ideas of politics, and he held strong opinions about morality and what was and was not true and biblically accurate.
Yes.
And then, so there's an answer to those. There has to be an answer to the questions that he was asking. This seems like endless. Are these honest organizations? I mean, how many people that are asking questions about Charlie Kirk, about the assassination, about what the organization does, how many of them are going to ever give money to Turning Point again, you think? I'm going to assess it's very low. Like not very many will.
I don't know, but
I know, but like we can just speculate. I think they're not going to be that organization.
But maybe they should. But maybe if it turns out that they were good and everything was true and everything they said was true and they are above board, then maybe we should.
How would these people be convinced of that? That's a lot of this stuff falls. Yeah, a lot of this falls into unfalsifiable. If I ask you a question and the person who's able to give me the answer is not a source that I'm ever going to be able to trust. So for example, I don't believe the FBI because the FBI lies. That's my position. And then you ask the question and the FBI answers the question. And you're like, well, I don't believe you because the FBI lies, and nobody else can answer the question. You're now in this thing that it's called unfalsifiable premises. So every single thing I say, there's no citation that's going to get me to the answer. And that's problematic. I don't think that's where Charlie Kirk operated from, again, as a non-expert on this, but he did seem to say like, okay, this is the biblical truth. This is what I believe is accurate. These are the things that I personally hold to be accurate. So he would play this, he would come to an answer and he would argue a position. If the position is, we just want to know more stuff, but we don't trust who's given us the stuff, then this goes on forever. And it becomes really, it becomes self-serving.
No, it does not.
Yeah. Okay. So how does it end?
There's going to be a trial where that has an end.
Will you accept that? Like, are you going to accept the outcome of the trial?
I said that at the very beginning.
Okay. Would you think everybody will?
I will not. I'm not saying I will accept the outcome of the trial. I will accept that there was an outcome, but I will determine the guilt based on my own research and investigation, one way or the other.
Okay.
But again, yes, I will accept. I will accept where it gets.
We're going to end up not having an agreement on this, but I don't think that you can make an argument that I'm not going to accept the people who are giving us the evidence, but I don't have the ability to get the evidence myself. Then it puts you in a terrible position because you're not in a position to be able to actually get evidence.
Yeah, I know that. I'm just saying. I'm saying if they prove in a court of law that he is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, I will accept that, and I will believe that is highly likely. Okay. Unless I believe that there was some miscarriage of justice, which I think is very low probability. Okay. Unless I believe that, like O.J. Simpson, it's like, do you believe that O.J. Simpson didn't kill his wife because they said he was not?
Yeah, no.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. I'm saying I don't know, but like I will accept it. Yeah, but I don't know.
I'm not telling you should either. By the way, I'm just saying I don't think that we're in a position to be able to get to the answer here.
But you're saying that there's no conclusion to be reached, and it's like,
that's kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, okay, well, fine. Well, I disagree with you that there's no conclusion to be reached, and for me to say that no conclusion to be reached would be like if I am going on a hike into the woods and I don't know what's at the end of that hike, to be like, well, I'll never get to the end. All right, well, then why hike at all? Yeah, okay, so you're saying we should not pay attention to this case at all. You're saying we shouldn't even talk about it, is what you're inferring.
I'm not saying should anything. I'm just saying I'm not, and that's why I haven't.
And again, so if the question is you, then yeah, of course, you're not interested in it. Okay, fine, but we are,
I know
it's
that's
important.
why. That's why I'm talking to you.
Yeah, and it's important stuff. But I think that
I get it, and I can tell because there's a lot of emotion behind some of the stuff you're saying, because this is stuff you've spent a bunch of time thinking about. And all I look at it and I just go like, all I wanted to know is, are you going to convince me that I need to care about this more? And I don't think bad things about you, because I don't. I just think it's the equivalent of, we have very different interests and I don't see an outcome to this.
I wish that you were only saying that. But
That's what I'm saying.
No, I know, but I believe that the audience, and I can't see the chat, but I would believe that the audience I believe that the audience might agree with me here. What the audience is hearing, I think, is that what you're saying is, I'm not interested in it. It's not important to me. I understand why it's important to you. You have emotions tied up in it, and that's fine. And I'm happy that you're doing that. Mm-hmm. But your belief outside of that is that talking about it, thinking about it, discussing it is of relatively low importance because you can't do anything, and thus it's not fruitful and it shouldn't be talked about. You could talk about it if you're interested in it, but
no,
it really doesn't.
If I was going to say that, I would tell you. I promise you. If I thought what you were doing was dumb, then I would tell you it's dumb.
I think you're suggesting that it doesn't matter.
I'm telling you that I'm not saying that.
Okay, that's awesome, and I appreciate that. I think the audience might.
I'll give you another good example. I met some people at the river this weekend, and they told me that they were really upset that their mother-in-law would not watch their kids so they could go float the river and drink beer for 4 hours.
Okay.
And I haven't floated a river and drank beer in coming up on 20 years. I don't know the lure of it. It doesn't appeal to me in any way, shape, or form. I can't fathom spending my time doing that.
Floating down the river, it's festive. It's very delightful.
I've got kids. I got other things to do. And if I have free time, I'm never going to go, hey, what if I sat in a float and absorbed sun and drank alcohol? That's not for me. But I see people doing it and they seem like they're having fun, so I wouldn't want them to not do it if they enjoy it. It's just not for me. It just doesn't appeal to me. And that's exactly what I'm saying. It's like, if you said, hey, Seraphin, do you want to go stand in the hot sun and drink beer? I go, no, never. If you said, Seraphin, do you want to stand in the hot sun and shoot a gun? I'd go, yeah, I'm into that.
But
we just have different interests. That's all it is.
We do have different interests. But what I'm saying is I believe that the audience is interpreting that last caveat that you're saying as like, that's stupid. You're not saying it's stupid.
But I would say it if people are stupid.
But I'm just saying, I
tell people they're stupid all the time. I think if you listen to Sean Hannity, you're listening to someone and you're getting information from someone who's lying to you. That's stupid.
I'm just saying, I believe that the audience is interpreting that you're implying that it's stupid. Whether you believe it is or not, I believe the audience is receiving it that way.
They might be. And that just tells me that people are really invested in.
Stupid.
Well, no, what it says is that people are really invested, and we get this all the time.
Yeah.
Where people really say, I like what you have to say about this. I like what you have to say about that. There are 10 things that we agree on. And therefore, I think you should agree with me on all the things. And if we find a place where we don't agree, like I don't think this is interesting, then we don't agree on anything because this is critical to my being. Like, this is not critical to your being. You and I agree on most things. Right. We probably disagree on some things morally, and that'd be fine. I have friends that I agree with 96% of the time. When I find that 4%, it's fascinating to me. And I'm like, what on earth are you doing with that 4%? Why do you think that way? I have friends that I agree with on distrusting the government, like arming up against tyrannical overlords and all the other, like we have all kinds of things. We disagree on almost nothing. And then one of my buddies was like, yeah, but I think the COVID shot was a really good idea. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, like, how did we not have that same opinion? And it's fascinating to me. We've known each other for 12 years. I find that edge and I go, that's crazy that you think something so radically different to me, but we agree on all these other things. That's the dissonance that the audience will have. It's just not interesting to me. I don't think there's an end to it where we get to an answer where we go, that's the culmination of this exercise. We have now proven the truth. We've come to the answers that I need to be able to assess what's going on. And now I've put that question to bed. I don't think you're going to get there. Maybe you will, but I don't think you will. But I know that I probably won't get there because I won't be still asking those questions. I'll just be like, I don't think we're going to get to an answer. I also don't care whether we land on the moon, by the way, for whatever it's worth. I just don't know that I have the ability to assess it. Sounds plausible. Sounds like it also could be bullshit. So I look at it and I go, I'm not emotionally invested in the question of the moon or building 7. It gets people super angry if you tell them I don't have a strong opinion about something that they care deeply about. So that's what I'm telling you. I don't have a strong opinion about this thing, and I know you do. And that's okay.
I know that. I think the audience, we all get that. I just wish that you would say this. I wish you would say, I understand why you guys find this to be of great importance, even though it's not important to me.
I just did.
I'm happy. I'm happy that you're investigating it because I think that that's how most truth is found. And
I'm
even
agnostic about why you're doing it. That's the thing. I don't feel I'm apathetic.
Okay.
You spend your time on things. I bet you that you do things in your day that I don't do. And it doesn't matter that you do those. Like, you know what I mean? It's like
I float the river, bro.
Yeah, if you float the river, like it's like, okay, like I don't float the river. And they're like, what do you do? I'm like, I lay in a fucking ant mound and I shoot a rifle really still. And they go like, that sounds dumb. And I go, yeah, I know, it's just not for you. I'm just
saying that like that disjointed view or that disagreement that we have is like, I don't know that I would say that about something that you were investigating with this level of veracity as much to imply it's insignificant or that it was purposeless, even though you're saying that it's not. That's like,
I don't think that I can do an investigation for whatever it's worth.
But you did an investigation about Brian Cole.
I didn't.
Okay,
no,
well,
I
you're
reported
talking
on somebody else's.
Okay, that's what we're doing is reporting on somebody else's.
Mm-hmm. I know.
So that's so all I'm saying is like I think that the audience is interpreting it that it's like, this is stupid. Who cares? You're never going to find an answer. And it's I've
never said it. Nor do I think you're stupid.
I know that that's what I think the audience is hearing.
You're trying to put me in a category of things. This is what I told you I was going to end up as. I think I told you this beforehand. We're going to end up in the same. We're going to end up saying that you still have strong opinions about something that I don't. Yeah. And that's cool. That's cool with me. Now, the audience, the chat that I'm watching right now, feels strongly that either I'm dumb or you're dumb or everyone's dumb or why are we still doing this? Yeah, who are these people? We're never going to find this. So the point that I wanted to make with this long-winded and I think freewheeling discussion about some stuff, and people will come away and they'll have their own points. Here's what I take away. We all are deeply interested in the things that we are interested in, and we cannot and will not be deeply interested in the things that other people are for the very reasons that they want us to be. Like, you would like it if I thought you were dumb, but I don't. I think that you're a smart guy.
Why would I like that?
Well, because that's the box you just tried to put me in. You're just like, you just did.
Kyle.
You told me this is what people think is going on here.
I believe the audience is interpreting.
I know, but why? But based on what?
Based on
what you think, because you're not even reading the audience. I'm reading them. So this is, believe that.
Then I'm just talking about me then. I'm interpreting that you're saying I'm stupid for thinking about this.
That's what I just said.
Okay, fine. All right, you're right. I'll give you that one.
And I'm not judging it.
I can't see the audience.
Okay, yeah. So this is why it's funny. So we all do this. We all bring our collective sort of feelings about something, and we're like, oh, when we are passionate about something. This is why, by the way, this is the exact argument why Kash Patel and Daniel Bongino should not have been involved. Because they came in with emotional connections to this.
Yep.
And you're allowed to have that because you have no official capacity. Those guys have an official capacity, and they fucked this up in a PR way that is deeply damaging to what Americans think, one side or the other. I mean, they did legitimate damage to the credibility of whatever was done here. Yeah. And people will never get over that because you just had people that were interested parties weighing in what should be a detached, non-emotional thing. This is why whenever you see television shows and someone's like, I can put it aside. I'm going to be on the I'm going to be part of this investigation that like went after my son. It's like, the fuck you are, dude. Like if you go do vigilante justice. That's what you're allowed to do. Like, you're not supposed to, but that's the only space where you're going to be able to get involved because you are involved in it. And when you're not involved in it, then you look at it and you just go, I'm not. The answer I don't think is going to come up. I don't think that anybody's going to be satisfied. And I think that there's plenty of people that are not as sophisticated thinking about this as you that are going to be, if they don't hear the answer that they are waiting for, then they are not going to accept any answer at all. And there's a lot of those are the flat earth people that end up on that space. There's a ton of them and we know them. They're in our comments every day. Like, they'll be in the comments for this. If you don't agree with what I already believe, then you're in on it, or you're a liar, or they got to you, or they sent you a check, or someone called and threatened you. Mm-hmm. And those people, that's unfalsifiable because they'll never not believe this. Mm-hmm. And I used to deal with them in the ER. They're mentally ill. It's like, whether it's high level of mental illness or a low level, like just functional mental illness, we all have some degree of, our own little quirky thoughts. I feel completely non-emotional about whatever it is you believe. And the next time you and I talk, which will be in the near future on something we agree on, then we'll be talking about things we agree about again. And we will find some other edges where you and I don't agree on something, and it won't matter. This is the way America used to actually do business. The super dangerous thing that happened, and it happened in our lifetimes, because you and I are roughly in the same age category. Mm-hmm. Something happened in America where one side said the other side is dumb, And then that side said the other side is evil. And there was an argument about, are you evil or are you dumb? And my answer is like, this whole disagreement is probably kind of dumb because like I don't know that you're going to get to the end. So I'm not mad at you for whatever you think. I think you should pursue anything that's interesting. And I hope you do.
Okay, good.
And by the way, if you come to conclusions where you're like, hey, here's the theory of the crime. Here's 5 fact patterns that lay it out. We've put this together. I want to see it. In fact, I hope that you will play that to me.
Yeah, I hope that happens too.
Yeah.
I think
somebody comes up with that. And then I'll go, oh, great. Like I'm not strongly committed to saying like, well, I have to believe this thing because I don't have to believe anything.
If this was a 1 mile run around the track, we're still on the first lap, in my opinion.
Okay, so we have 75% more to go.
Yeah, that's where I'm at about this. It's like up until the preliminary hearing, all we had was nothing. So I don't know that anybody.
Yeah, and what's crazy is I was making that argument for a long time. It's like wait till the preliminary hearing, see what they propose.
But people like Candace, for example, like she had a lot of things that she revealed and other information that she sought out in the interim, and that she presented a lot of things that were of varying degrees of importance. Like, for example, Charlie Kirk's text messages about his beliefs about his changing opinions on the country of Israel. So it's like those are relevant pieces of information that sans Candace Owens never see the light of day.
But they're only relevant if they fit into a model, a theory of the crime.
We don't know their relevance yet, and that's the whole point. Is that
I'm fine with that. I'm just saying, if you're putting that in advance, it's like, okay, well then it has to, and if it never gets played in, then there was a lot of talking about something that actually had nothing to do with anything. I wrote
an article about Candace Owens very early on my Substack where I was like trying to conclude, like, is this bad or good that Candace is doing this? And I was indifferent at the time. Mm-hmm. And I had this moment where I kind of realized like why she would do it or what it would mean. And I wrote this article on my Substack called What Candace Owens Taught Me. And what it talked about was like, they talk about how Candace Owens is doing this for money and fame and wealth and whatever else.
Yeah, I don't think she needs the money.
And it's like, in the event that Candace was wrong about this, dead wrong, and this was an open and shut case, she would lose a tremendous amount of credibility, authority, trustworthiness, her audience. She would lose money. She would lose opportunities. She would lose speaking gigs. She wouldn't probably be able to sell books. Her financial benefit over time would be severely impacted negatively as a result of this. So I thought to myself, like, what could possibly compel a person to risk that much? And my ultimate conclusion was that it was that the information was so heavy weighing on your soul that you had no choice but to do it. And it's like, to me, that is the most logical conclusion of why Candace is doing anything that she's doing. Is like,
what are the other two or two other competing theories with that?
I don't know. I'm just saying that
if that's the most logical, then what are the other like sort of like runners?
That she's doing it for money, or she's doing it for fame.
What about the fact that she's processing grief? Because it seems like she had a pretty aggressive emotional commitment to him. That always seemed more to me than anything else. It still risks.
It still is a tremendous risk. That means that her business sharpness is dog shit. That she sees a thing and she's emotional about it, and she's willing to burn her whole castle down because she's emotional. And maybe that's the case. I don't know, but I'm just saying. What I'm saying is that like she has brought a lot of information to light. She knows a lot of things on the inside that a lot of us can't know. That if I was her, you probably can't reveal. And there's been a lot of information that she's revealed about the text messages from Charlie, Turning Point itself, the relationships that the official Tyler Robinson murder case would have never revealed. So again, if you look at this as just about did Tyler Robinson kill Charlie, versus if you look at this as like who killed Charlie Kirk, versus is what happened to Charlie Kirk potentially implicating some other or unearthing other nefarious intent in his organizations, whether they were related to it or not. All of those things are on the table. And it's not that we're focusing on one, we're collecting the collection of all of them, and what their importance is yet to be determined, but we're trying to figure that out, and we're still on the first lap. And that's what has been happening. Candace has been revealing a lot of things that would not come up in the murder trial. Barron has been assessing a lot of the information that has been presented thus far, then in the preliminary hearing, and airing it, as well as airing things about all of the people lying and the things that they're saying on the Charlie Kirk show, like what Andrew Colvett is saying and how that conflicts with the evidence that's presented. And that's what Ian Carroll, for example, did as well. And that's what a lot of citizen journalists like Diligent Dennison did by going to that restaurant in Panguitch and seeing if people admit that they saw him in real life, collecting the supposed receipt, the ring camera footage that supposedly showed Tyler Robinson's car in the area like 3 hours later with 3 people in the car. Like, what is that? We don't know what they are yet. We're on the first lap. We're all combining it. But in the event that it's not what they say it is, as delivered by the people that lie all the time, it would implicate a lot of people, and or it would mean that we need to reassess the purpose or the value or the trustworthiness of lots of other things. And that's what I think it is and where it stands. I don't know. I'm not trying to convince you, but that's why we're doing it. I wish people would just say, I understand why you're looking into it. Good. I want justice.
No,
I want justice.
Obviously, the reason that we're talking is because I understand that people are interested, even if I'm not that person. That doesn't.
I don't mean you. I just mean the people that are like, "How could you dare look at this?" It's like,
I don't like people telling people what they can and can't talk about ever. I think that's really dumb.
Of great significance, of great importance. We care about justice for Charlie Kirk. That's why we're looking into it. That's why.
Fair.
That's what we're doing. That's what we're trying to figure out.
It does not bother me in the least. I'm going to give Clint Russell a stab at that too, because I want to hear what he has to say. If he brings something else to it, he has a different style than you.
I'm a yeller type.
What's that?
I'm a little bit more of an animated. His is more fact, like monotone.
He's a different messenger, and so the message can sometimes be shaped by the messenger. I like you as a person. I like what you have to say. I like your impressions. Man. I am not mad at anything you've said today. Nothing you've said here bothers me. The only thing that I'm going to walk away with is mysterious arm potion.
Yeah, mysterious mystery potion.
I've never heard of the mystery arm potion thing, so I like that. Juice. That's good times. Bobby, tell people where to follow you, what your favorite platform is for them to follow you if you're interested.
At Take Naps on Instagram, at Take Naps on X. But you can go to followbobby.com and all my links to all my socials are there.
Just BOBBY.
Yep, followbobby.com.
What is the origin of Take Naps, by the way?
I made it in 2013, and I'm a domain name person. I'm an internet person, and I knew that having a domain name that was short, easy to spell, easy to remember, less than 3 syllables would make it memorable. So I was just looking around the term of naps, and it was an English phrase. It was easy to spell, it was easy to remember, and it was 2 syllables.
And who doesn't like taking naps other than
naps are luxurious. That was the impetus of it.
I love it. Yeah. But thanks for spending all this time. People, put whatever you think about there. Follow Bobby for more of that, and to disagree with him or to find his funny takes on fat Trump Q-tard type individuals.
No, dude, the military is in charge. Trust the plan, dude. And
please.
Yes, it's all going to work out once the deep state is arrested, even though he's appointing the deep state to positions in the cabinet. But whatever.
See, we agree on almost everything except some of the small things. Who cares? Yeah. All right, but thanks for spending so much time with me. I enjoyed it. I'll upload this over on Spotify, folks. I hope you enjoyed the discussion, and let me know what you think. That was it. All right,
Thank
buddy.
you, brother. See you, man.
All right, folks, that's the show today. I know it was an extra long one. If you guys want to know what I'm excited about and what I'm interested in, this is where I will spend my time. I won't spend it necessarily sitting around and reading people's text messages that I don't know are real. I'll go out and shoot cans. I'll go out and try to hit targets from as far away as possible, and I'll go out and build guns and spray paint them and try to see if gear works the way it's supposed to do. That's what I'm interested in. So that's the Tackleberry Project. It's at I'm Your Tackleberry over on YouTube and on Rumble, and I've got the first couple of videos. They take a lot longer to edit than just doing a live podcast, so sorry about that, but that's what it does. For all of you that want to sponsor or support the program, rather, check us out. All the sponsors that do support us are very appreciated, to include you guys who are part of the locals community who probably listen to this. I don't know if anybody else listens to all the end. There was a lot in there. There was a lot of questions that were articulated. You guys let me know which ones yours are. Check out our sponsors. There's a QR code that's going to flash on the screen here that you guys can do. And other than that, I hope you guys have a fantastic day. It was an interesting start to my week. It was a much longer discussion than I planned on having, but that's kind of how I work. And I don't have a cutoff. I work for me. So that's the conversation that I felt like having with someone who I'm going to remain friends with, because I think he's a good dude. And you guys may dislike what I had to say. That's okay too. Tell me what it was. Tell me why. Put it in the comments. God bless you. See you guys again tomorrow.
Thanks for listening to The Kyle Seraphin Show, streamed live weekdays on rumble.com/Kyle Seraphin. Follow Kyle on Twitter, Truth Social, and Instagram at Kyle Seraphin.